Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night. It's time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. Good to see you as always, Jen.
Good to see you.
And let me make one thing perfectly clear to our growing audience that is coming here on a regular basis. If you come for Jen, you come for me too. I just want to get that out of the way. I don't have to elaborate any further, but just keep that in mind. I see the comments too. I see what some of you say. Jen and I do not agree on everything politically. And if some of you favor my opinion versus hers and vice versa, that's fine. Do not do it with cruelty. Do not do it with anger, and do not do it with resentment. Could you remind me if Pete, I'm Scottish and not Irish. I love the Irish, but I'm from Scotland and land of the manskirt and ginger hair. Well, it's all right. I appreciate you, good Scotsman, but do me a favor. Why would you do that when I'm in the middle of doing something?
That's what it was cute. I thought it was nice because
you could have held it for a second while I was trying to finish what I was saying. Anyway, Jen is my partner, and we are going to be working together. So continuing to tell me to drop Jen, not happening. So if you want to just stick to when I do my solo show on Saturday, and that's when you want to watch, that's great. But Jen is my partner, and we respect each other's opinions, and you should respect hers too. If she's too much of a hippie tree hugger for you, that's fine. Just remember, she doesn't take any corporate money, neither do I. And if you follow any channel that is involved in any way, shape, or form with taking corporate special interest money, I'm going to lead you into a very simple explanation as to why, when it comes to something like the election that's coming tomorrow. And while there are three big elections, there's two gubernatorial elections, one in New Jersey, my home state, and Virginia. I think New Jersey's a toss-up. I think Spangberger, the CIA operative, as I like to refer to, because the Democratic Party is a party of the CIA, Israel, corporate special interests, you name it. But the most important election tomorrow that I think is going to define a lot of the future of politics in the United States, potentially. Zohran, we've been saying from the beginning, treat with, not necessarily kid gloves, but be cautious.
A healthy amount of skepticism. A healthy amount of skepticism is in order. But, I just don't see the point of going after him and attacking him for anybody who is in any way, shape, or form left of center. If you're anywhere left of center, in what universe would he not be the best of your options? And again, I don't live in New York, so this isn't my corn muffin. So I don't vote in this race. But let's say hypothetically he accomplishes one of the things he says he's going to do, whether it's rent stabilization or supermarkets that are subsidized or free public transit, or let's just say he is able to accomplish any of those things. Okay, that's still pretty good, So I don't see why anybody left of center would have any negative thing to say about him. I really don't. And yeah, we should be healthily skeptical. I am. But again, what's your option? What would you suggest? Would you suggest we just all get behind Cuomo?
Yeah, get behind Cuomo.
Right. So, what are you suggesting would be the option? Oh my God. The Irish. I love them. The Irish.
I've felt that in many ways, Zohran is the politician that AOC wishes that she was. He's a lot
smarter. He's a lot brighter than she is. He's a lot more akin to Obama than he is to her in terms of political intelligence, and which again leads me to a certain amount of skepticism. But she's nowhere near as bright as him. And that's why she's nowhere near as capable as him in terms of an executive seat. But yeah.
Correct. And so any aspirations of where one is going to be going politically, I would say that Zohran is the horse to bet on. But I would say if there's a true negative to Zohran Mamdani, it's that he's running in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I get that. But that's their menu. I get that. And somebody needs to be the last of the Democratic candidates, right? Like they're going away. That's not going to change. But if he's somebody that's what it takes and gets it, like, really, that's not the issue.
I thought about
what he does when he gets in there.
I thought about what would be the best reflection of Zohran in terms of a clip that we could play that in many ways is reflective of what his campaign was all about from the very beginning, with all of the ish that was thrown in his direction, not the least of, I mean, let's be honest, the reason he's going to become mayor isn't because of the clip I'm about to play you. He's going to become mayor because he stood up to the Israel lobby when no one thought it was possible, and because they made it their mission in life to go after him. They took a candidate who was sitting at about 3% in the polls, and he shot up like a rocket ship because they wouldn't shut the fuck up about it.
So what do we call that?
That's the Streisand effect. Real time for all its glory. Now, if all he did was mind his P's and Q's and ran a campaign like the one he did run, centered on this message, he never would have gotten elected in a million years. But this, if he would not have been on the Democratic Party debate stage, again, I agree with David 100%. And so that is the precedent that is set. Had Zohran only run a campaign centered on this message, he never would have won, but it was the message that he would have run on regardless, and that's what matters.
How's it going, guys? Do you have 60 seconds to talk to us about the election? How you guys doing? Do you guys want to talk about the election for a minute? How you doing, boss? How's it going, sir? Excuse me, ma'am. How you doing, boss? Why is it that you don't feel as confident today about Democratic candidates?
Honestly, I lost faith.
It felt like I was just choosing the greater of two evils, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen.
How you doing, boss?
Walter.
Walter, nice to meet you. Walter, did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
I call all my African people to vote for
Thank you, my brother.
because I know with you, New York City will change.
Thank you, my brother.
I support you.
1 year ago, we were here talking to New Yorkers after Donald Trump won the presidential election. Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday, Devin?
I did, yes.
And who did you vote for?
Donald Trump.
Trump.
The million-dollar question, Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
Actually, I did not get a chance to vote.
But I didn't want to anyways.
What we're finding today, remember exactly where we were? There are far more people excited about the possibility of politics in this city on the same street, where last year there were very few who were looking to have that conversation.
That's interesting.
Look at all those white people voting for Trump, Jen. No, they're old white people, totally.
No, but it's look at all those working people voting for Trump is what I was thinking. Like that's the glaring message from that.
Very glaring. And what it shows you more than anything else, and we're going to get to the creme a la creme shortly after this, it doesn't matter how bad Trump is or gets. What matters is that the whole system is designed to create people like Trump to take control. Because the Democratic Party is the furthest thing from Zohran Mamdani, at least in terms of its leadership and infrastructure.
You going, boss?
Let's go, Zohran. You got my vote.
How you doing?
Yes, let's go for him, yes.
I'll vote for this guy. You are the best, bro.
Thank you, bro. How are you? It's time for a change. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, man. Oh, thank you, my brother.
I just got my citizenship.
Hey, congratulations.
For you.
Congratulations.
That's
amazing.
You're the game changer.
Thank you, my brother.
My bishop first. I voted for him yesterday.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah, this is the mayor, the next mayor.
What we heard from them then was that they were tired of a Democratic Party that thought too little of working class people across this country to offer them an affirmative vision. Why did you not vote?
Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
How you doing, brother? Good to see you. How you doing,
Anymore.
man?
So did you believe in it at one point?
Yes.
And what caused you to lose faith?
Just the way things been going now. It's hard on people now.
Yo, let's go. How you doing, man?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are praying God, making people expect to you. I hope you help us.
I've been watching you. God bless you, bro.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Both of you, me and my wife.
Thank you.
Both of you heard.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you to be mayor, and I hope. No, I know you're going to become mayor.
You know, the one thing I have to say from this video and from what we've seen is that sometimes it does help when somebody who has a positive message and isn't bought by corporate power ends up winning, because it does give some people hope. Now, in the end, we still need a revolution. And I do believe that as much as Trump facilitates a revolution, I also believe that Mamdani facilitates it as well. And there's a reason I believe that, Jen.
Yeah.
People know what his 3 pillars are. People are well aware of what his 3-point plan for New York City is: rent control, government-run grocery stores, and free transportation, probably what would be considered holiday transportation. What I mean by that is free transportation on like a Monday or a Friday or something like that. But whatever it will be, it's a social, it's socialist in a number of ways for sure. But what I think will end up happening is that if he gets in there and he wins in a walk, which I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to, and he has his mandate, and they don't let him get anything, it's only going to, he better recognize very quickly that if they try to stop him, he better be revolutionary and not a capitulator.
And that's where I'm skeptical, because at the end of the day, he is a Democrat and he is somebody that is very smooth politically. So I have concerns. And I also don't think that the change is going to come from that. Also, nothing about his programs are socialist, actually, nothing. His programs are what should be universal basic services that we should have as a civilization that's the richest on the planet. Okay. Socialism means that the workers control the means of production. What he's talking about is using the tax dollars, and yes, at the city level and the state level, it's our tax dollars, using the people's tax dollars to help them in a way that actually helps them. Again, there's nothing socialist about any of that. So, you know, people using that phrase just really, to me, proves how woefully ignorant our general population is regarding socialism, communism, Marxism. People say those things, fascism. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Well,
he hasn't proposed a single thing that would be considered socialist.
And I also agree, because at the end of the day, it would only be considered socialist if he was talking about completely having the government run all grocery stores. He's talking about infusing one type of government-run grocery store into each of the 5 boroughs to basically balance the power, is what he's trying to do. But what is going to become so evident to the ruling class, which is why they're coming down like an anvil on him at the 11 o'clock hour, is that if there is even a slight tilt in the direction of working people's needs, it, in my opinion, is going to continue to facilitate the revolution, because everyone's going to be around saying, well, why the hell does he get to get eggs for $3?
Right. Well, yes, it creates higher expectations that we should all have. But again, government run is not socialist. That's, again, like, I think this matters. And I don't think, like, government, let's say it was all government run. Well, that's authoritarian for sure. But I don't know what the economic program necessarily would be with that if it was that thing. But it's not socialist unless the workers own the means of the production and the workers get to choose. It's not socialist. So I really think that, yeah, there's nothing he's proposing that's remotely socialist.
Which is why, fairly or not, the expectations on him are going to be as big as they were on Obama during his first 100 days. And we saw how Obama failed this country in his first 100 days.
It's going to be upsetting, but the difference is...
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I just think that the big difference is that Mamdani would be a mayor that is completely dependent on the state and the federal government for funds, whereas Obama's first 100 days, you could do whatever you want. So that's a very big difference. You can't, it's like apples and oranges. What concerns me about him is that he's as smooth talking as Obama, and that he isn't necessarily even where he says he is on issues. And that's a valid concern. Him being able to get stuff done is a real difference between him and Obama, though.
I do think he's going to get one. That's my prediction. He's going to get one item, and he's got to be very careful which one he picks. If I'm picking any of the three, I'm going for the grocery stores. If you can reduce people's ability to afford to buy food in an equitable way in a place like New York,
I would let them decide what they want, but they very well might want rent control. They very well might. I don't, it really just depends. But again, he is dependent on funding that is controlled by other people that's not him. And so that he does have infinitely more limitations than the president does.
That's true. But like I said, I think he's got a real army behind him. Let's finish this out because we've got another component to this. That's probably even more important.
Thank you. So I actually want to introduce myself. My name is Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year. Wow. Yes, sir. Wow. And I'm going to be running on that platform of making sure we keep the rent where it's at for rent-stabilized tenants, of making the buses free, making childcare reality. And it's a pleasure to meet you.
You still gonna see you're already gonna win, so why are you walking around for?
Come on. You gotta work every day for it. It's New York. Ain't nothing done.
Okay, so everything that he's talking about is what is called social democracy, which is really just a matter of living in a world where we have the ability and the means and the resources to take care of our citizens. And so the idea that we wouldn't do that to the best of our ability, just again, to me, it indicates a failure of our species, because there's no reason other than greed. And let me be very clear. Poverty is a policy choice and it's violence. Poverty is violence as a policy choice. So when you view it that way, I think that the revolution, it's more understandable why words are not going to be enough.
Yeah, and I would say this to Pink Rose. I would say it to David Hunter, any of our New York City contingents. The one elected official that I am truly happy for, who is a friend of the show, is State Senator Gustavo Rivera, who represents the Bronx. Yeah. And he is somebody who, from the very beginning, I messaged him privately and I asked him, does this guy have a chance? And he's like, he's going to surprise you. I'm telling you right now, he's got something. He's got something special. I'm like, okay, we'll see. And for somebody who represents the poorest borough by far, I think if he's able to do anything for them in a way that Zio scumbags like Richie Torres never would in a million years, then there is something to be said for just creating the hope in the people. You don't want to let him down because he's going to have to do something. What that involves, I don't know.
It's a matter of, we've said this before, Peter, when involving our campaigns, right? It isn't so much that people expect you to get all your things done.
No.
They just want you to fight for them.
Yeah.
They want you to fight for them. It's the mayor is not completely in control of where his funds are from, right? His funds come from taxpayers. He can't just coordinate Congress to issue a spending bill to create something. He doesn't have that authority. So he does have certain limitations. But what people want to see is that somebody is fighting for them and with them. That's what they want. And if you do that, they will support you.
Yeah. And the one thing that's been very consistent with his campaign is that you never see him going to any high-end fundraisers on the Upper East Side or any of the, Upper West, the Bowery, places like that.
No.
It would have been a lot easier for him to just become the Democratic Party nominee and completely shift who he was as a candidate. He didn't do that. And I think that's a very good sign. Now, do I think he's played ball to some extent? Yeah, he's had, Elizabeth Warren supporting him and Bernie and AOC and things like that.
That's not the biggest problem.
No, I would say
the biggest problem is him being willing to take advice from, consult with, affiliate with Zionists.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Of course.
Him playing ball within his own party to some extent. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that.
Now he may be saying that, and it's going to be completely different once he gets in there. Because the truth of the matter is the disintegration of the U.S.-Israel alliance is not going to come from Zohran being mayor. It's going to come from the people just simply saying, we're done with this shit, and we're going to get to that when Eleanor gets here. But to me, the most telling part of all of this, which I think is probably the thing that's also helped him the most, people do not trust the Democratic Party. They never should. I think they are infinitely worse than the Republicans, because at least the Republicans tell you who the fuck they are, especially people like Lindsey Graham. Yeah, we're killing the right people and we're cutting your taxes. What more could you ask for? Hey, at least he's honest about it. I'll tell you who's not honest. The so-called leader of the Democratic Party. And now that Nancy Pelosi is finally retiring from Congress, this guy will definitely be the leader, for better or worse. This is what Mr. Jeffries had to say on the eve of the election regarding his support for Zohran and whether or not Zohran is the future of the Democratic Party.
Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party?
No, I think the future of the Democratic Party is going to fall, as far as we're concerned, relative to the House Democratic Caucus and members who are doing a great work all across the country.
It's the word salad. What are you saying, Hakeem? What is he saying? Other than, yeah, we don't get behind Zohran. That's basically him saying, yeah, we don't fuck with Zohran. That's what he's saying.
Just as Mo would say, yeah, we ain't effing with Zohran. But yeah, Mo would say, no.
But why? Word salad.
Well, it's not just that, but Mo would say, hey, we don't F with House, you know what, Jeffries. We don't mess. We don't F with guys like that.
No, but that's the way he's talking about Zohran. It's just like, but he's not saying anything. What is the future of the Democratic Party? And the reason he's not saying anything is because they have no future. They have no future.
That's what should be said. Just as Patrick says. That's what should be said.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Patrick, I need you to tell me what it's like driving the Homer car. It's always been curious on my part. La cucaracha. Sorry for those Simpsons fans out there who don't get the reference.
Oh my God.
You know, the only reason why he goes on to CNN is because he knows Jake Tapeworm is not going to follow up with, okay, so what does the Democratic Party stand for? What exactly, the so-called future of the party? So
there
what is
that? None. Love it. Keep talking, Hakeem. Let's add some dressing to that salad.
As it relates to our need to both take back control of the House, but in doing so, make sure that we're communicating to the American people like, we understand you deserve better than the country that you have received.
And yet, who has been sitting there for a really long time? That would be you. Because I don't recall them talking like this under Joe Biden. I don't recall Hakeem, saying that we deserved more under Joe Biden.
You know what the most amazing part of all of this is? This guy has been the so-called leader of the Democratic Party in the House for about 5 years, and he's never actually been the House Speaker. And everyone hates his effing guts. Can you imagine how bad it's going to be if he ever gets that gavel? How much worse people are going to hate him? And
yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that that's part of their like decline, is him sitting there being him. He's not going to be Speaker of the House. The Democrat, they're really on their way out. They're like the Walking Dead. Everybody sees them dead except for them and their little toadies, but nobody is new registering as Democrats. That's just not happening. Kids are not graduating from high school, registering in college and registering to go vote for Democrats. They're just not. So how are they going to go anywhere if they're not registering any voters? The only voters that registering are really no parties, independents, and Republicans. That's where people are registering. So I don't know. They're going to cease to exist.
I think
he'll never be Speaker of the House.
Well, and that's what's so amazing about what's going on right now is if we are ever so casually looking at the landscape of electoral politics a year from now, it is painfully obvious that if there ever is a moment to declare that the Democratic Party is dead, even if they take the House by the slimmest of margins,
right?
This is a classic example of an all-time failure of a party that deserves to go the way of the Whigs. They 1,000% deserve it. And it's not just because of Wasserman Schultz. She just happened to expose just how rotten they are. Now, of course, she was as drunk with power as anyone that's ever held the power structure within the party has ever been, at least in however long post JFK you want to, refer to in terms of the decline of the party overall. But did anybody really think that Jeffries was the leader of this party so long as Pelosi was in the House? Did anybody really take this guy as anything other than a true, you want to talk about a true DEI hire? Hey, look, we hired a black guy with a Muslim name. There we go. We're with it now.
He serves at the pleasure of Nancy Pelosi. And I think that the only reason that he is there is because they lost the majority. And so she's like, all right, fine, you could do this. But that's why I don't think he'll ever be speaker. I think if there was a chance of that happening, he wouldn't be in that position.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I would definitely say that Zohran, as much as any candidate in recent memory, this is also why, guys, keep in mind, Abigail Spanberger is very likely going to win the governorship in Virginia. The governorship in Virginia tends to flip. It's only a 1 year. It's only a one term. For those who don't know this, in Virginia, you're only allowed one non-consecutive term as governor. You can win again, but you have to take 4 years off, which obviously is very hard to do. Jerry Brown made a habit of that in California. Point is, I think Spangelberger will probably win tomorrow in Virginia, but I actually would not be surprised in the least if Jack Ciattarelli wins the governorship in New Jersey. The fact that Obama had to go out to New Jersey and campaign with Mickey Sherrill, friend of mine who is very high up in, we'll just say, New Jersey business. Mickey Sherrill was just at their office today. Again, you're talking about an off-year election with Trump in the White House doing everything he's doing right now, and New Jersey might go red in the governor's race? How fucking dead of a party do you need before you realize, yeah, maybe this isn't working anymore?
Well, they keep, look, I mean, have you noticed how much Gavin Newsom's been rearing his ugly head around things? Right. And it doesn't matter who they put up. It doesn't matter. All 20 of whoever Nimrods are in that race. It won't matter. They're not winning. And none of them have any sort of capacity of winning a national race. None of them. So it doesn't matter what they do. It's really irrelevant. And when you no longer are able to see a Democrat win a national race, that's when they cease to exist.
And they're heading in that direction right now. Yeah. That's exactly why Zohran is going to win tomorrow, and he's going to win. He's going to win in spite of the Democratic Party, not because of it.
Oh God,
he ran a phenomenal race. Phenomenal race.
Yeah, his comms team is like some of the best stuff that I've seen.
100%. Now, what he's going to find out, in my opinion, after tomorrow, is that the Jewish vote is very generational when it comes to his support. Now, why is he going to probably win overwhelmingly? Because the under 45 vote is overwhelmingly ahead in terms of their involvement in the race so far.
The majority of Jews across all the majority of Jewish New Yorkers support Mamdani in every age category. He has the majority of Jewish support in that race.
Speaking of the difference between Jews and Zionists, which again, we still have to constantly remind people that there is a difference here. There is a story that you wanted to cover, and we're going to cover it regarding the IDF. I do want to open this, though, with a very important clip, two clips in particular, regarding Netanyahu Milikowski, because I think it paints a very good picture as to why there was this break, if you will. There was always going to be a whistleblower. There was always going to be somebody who worked for the IOF who was going to say, yeah, all those things that you heard that the IOF was up to when it came to what they were doing to the Palestinians, yeah, it's all true, and it's even worse than you think.
Right. So the background to the story is that for people who, I don't know, a lot of people watching this will remember because we talked about it, but there was video footage that was released. It was already like a year and a half ago of the IOF captors raping Palestinian detainee, multiple. There were like 5 of them that were raping a prisoner. A hostage. And so that whole story where Ben Gvir and Smoltrist were saying that's their right to do so and defending them. And they were upset that those soldiers were even being detained for questioning. So it turns out that video footage was leaked by this woman that we're going to cover right now. I forget her name. She's the highest level attorney in the IOF. So this is someone who, if there was anybody at the top of their food chain in terms of their legal stuff, this was it. And so apparently she leaked it and then she went missing for a few days. So a lot of people, I think, were thinking she might have been Epsteined. And instead, she has now reemerged and she's been taken into custody and arrested. So that's the backstory, is who this woman is.
So I'm going to do this in a wrap. So I'm going to play the first clip, then we're going to read the story. The lady's name in question that decided to turn against the IOF, as Jen always points out, even though they call them the IDF, it's the IOF.
They call themselves whatever. They call themselves a real nation, and they're not that either. So they call themselves whatever they want. Major
General Yafet Tomer Yerushalami. I think I said that right. Yeah, that's her name. The opposition party in the Knesset had this to say about the biggest war criminal walking the earth right now.
אתה יזמת העברת כסף קטרי לחמאס יחד עם מוחמד אל-עמדי. אתה הובלת את זה בהוראה שלך אישית. אתה הובלת. ב-2020 אתה שולח את ראש מוסד יוסי כהן יחד עם הרצל הלוי לקטר להתחנן להגדיל את הכסף הקטרי. למה אתה מתנגד לוועדת חקירה ממלכתית? כי אתה יודע, כל הישיבות האלו, ישבה קצרנית, כתבה מילה במילה. לא תוכל לברוח, לא תוכל לגלגל אחר.
With the fucking smirk on his face.
I know. The hubris knows no bounds. It's suffocating.
I almost feel like he's going to meet a very painful end. Like, I don't see any other way. He's Mussolini. He's like that defiant. Like he's daring you to draw and quarter him in the town square in Tel Aviv. Like he's daring the people to do it at this point, especially if they think that they're all going to die. I mean, who the hell knows what they'll be capable of? And you can't say you knew nothing, which is true. So, Colin, can I have that story, please? This is from the BBC. Israeli military's ex-top lawyer arrested over leak of video allegedly showing Palestinian detainee abuse. That is, say her name one more time.
Let me see it. Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalami.
I did say her last name right.
Yerushalami. Yeah,
how about
Tomer Yerushalami resigned on Friday.
I bet. Listen, her real name is Yerushalami, so we'll just stick with that. Okay, so Yerushalami had this to say. The former top lawyer in the Israeli military has been arrested as a political showdown deepens over the leaking of a video that allegedly shows severe abuse of a Palestinian detainee by Israeli soldiers. Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalami resigned as the, I do that with love. I don't do that to be.
I know, but it's Yerushalami.
Yerushalami. Resigned as the military advocate general of the IOF, Israeli Offense Force, last week, saying that she took full responsibility for the leak. On Sunday, the story took a darker turn when she was reported as missing, with police mounting an hours-long search for her on a beach north of Tel Aviv. She was subsequently found alive and well but was then taken into custody. The fallout from the leaked video is intensifying by the day. Broadcast in August of 24 on an Israeli news channel, the footage shows reserve soldiers at the SDE Teman military base in southern Israel taking aside a detainee, then surrounding him with riot shields to block visibility when he was allegedly beaten and stabbed in the rectum with a sharp object. Why don't you just say a machete? Because that's probably what it was. The detainee was treated for severe injuries. You mean life-threatening injuries? Don't forget, this is still the BBC, which is up Israel's ass, just like the New York Times and the Washington Post is. 5 reservists were charged with aggravated abuse and causing serious bodily harm to the detainee. They have denied the charges and have been named. On Sunday, 4 of the reservists wore black balaclavas, Jen?
Balaclavas?
What are those?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming uniforms, like some sort of black head coverings or uniforms. Yeah, to hide their faces.
As they appeared at a news conference outside the Supreme Court in Jerusalem, along
like
with
ICE, they cover their faces because they're cowards.
Of course, I don't want anybody to see what animals they are. Who demanded the dismissal? Who demanded the dismissal of their trial? Not even reduced charges. Nothing. Not kicking. We are the chosen people. We are above the law. If you haven't noticed, we have been for quite a while. So why should this be any different? Adi Kaidar, a lawyer from the right-wing legal organization Hanenu, claimed his clients were subject to a faulty, biased, and completely cooked-up legal process. Sir, we have their fingerprints on the machete. Yes, but that is not exactly what happened, so don't do such a... You are just being anti-Semitic. That's all you're being. On Monday, it emerged the detainee at the center of the case was released to Gaza in October as part of an exchange with Hamas of convicted prisoners and detainees held without charge by Israel for hostages held by Hamas since October 7th, 2023.
I reject that. Very few of these people were convicted of anything. Most of them weren't even charged with anything, let alone tried. So very few of these people were convicted of anything.
Of course. Last week, a criminal investigation was launched into the leaking of the video. General Tomar Yerushalami was put on leave.
Yerushalami.
I'm hungry now. Was put on leave while the inquiry took place. On Friday, Defense Minister Israel, because of course their name's Israel, Katz, I'm sorry, it's just funny, said she would not be allowed to return to her post. Shortly after that, General Tomar Yerushalami resigned. In her resignation letter, she said she took full responsibility for any material that was released to the media from the unit. I approve the release of material to the media in an attempt to counter false propaganda against the Army's law enforcement authorities. Yes, because how do you know Israel's lying, Jen?
Their lips are moving. But what she's talking about, so Israel's law enforcement agency did detain those 5 soldiers, and then their facility was stormed by Ben Gvir and a whole bunch of rioters in the streets demanding that those soldiers have the right to rape detainees. So the law enforcement agency was attempting to do its job and prosecute those soldiers, but that obviously didn't take.
That is a reference to efforts by some right-wing political figures in Israel to claim that the allegations of severe abuse of the Palestinian detainee has been fabricated. Why don't you check his rectum, see how fabricated it really is? No pun intended. She added, it is our duty to investigate whenever there is a reasonable suspicion of acts of violence against a detainee. Colin. After her resignation, Katz issued a fierce condemnation of her conduct. Anyone who spreads blood libels against IOF soldiers is unfit to wear the Army's uniform. Prime Minister Milikowski Netanyahu echoed his defense minister's words on Sunday, saying that the incident at SD Teman was perhaps the most severe public relations attack that the state of Israel has experienced since its establishment. Boy, they really know how to be overly dramatic in everything they say, don't they? Hours later, the first reports began appearing that the Israeli media that General Tomar Yerushalami was missing, sparking fears that a political scandal had taken a turn towards tragedy. Let me tell you, if they didn't make a big stink about it in the news, you better believe she would have just disappeared and no one would have known otherwise. A massive search effort was launched, and before they could chop up her body and toss her into the Mediterranean Sea, they had to have her resurface. Several hours later, she was found safe and in good health in the coastal area of Herzliya, Israel police said. Overnight, a police spokesperson announced that the two people had been arrested on suspicion of leaking and other serious criminal offenses as part of an investigation. Israel media reported that the pair were General Tamar Yerushalami and the former chief military prosecutor, Colonel Mitan Solomon, and Crackers and Manischewitz. The SD8 team incident has been a lightning rod for the division between the left and the right in Israel. There is no division between the left and the right. There is Israel and there is Palestine. Know the difference. On the right, the leaking of the video is denounced as a defamation of the Israeli military, all but amounting to an act of treason.
Yes, like this is one of those things that they say is like blood libel. You're lying about us. But then if it's a lie, then why was Ben-Gvir so adamant that the soldiers had the right to do it?
That's a great point. Could you please continue reading for a moment?
Where are you?
After Israeli military police.
After Israeli military police went to Sde Taman to question 11 reservists over the incident in July 2024, far-right protesters, including at least 3 lawmakers from Netanyahu's governing coalition, broke into the facility to show their support, which is what I was referencing before with Ben-Gvir. On the left, right? Yeah. On the left, General Tomer Yerushalami's decision to enable the footage to be released is seen as the one time she lived up to the responsibilities of her post. So maybe this is a woman who just couldn't take it anymore. She's like, enough. Like, this is just absolutely absurd. And she's like, I'm not going to be with this anymore. The video is regarded by the left as concrete evidence backing up multiple reports of abuse of Palestinian detainees since the Hamas-led October 7th attacks. Last October, a report by a UN Commission of Inquiry alleged that thousands of child and adult detainees from Gaza had been subjected to widespread and systematic abuse, physical and psychological violence, and sexual and gender-based violence, amounting to the war crime and crime against humanity of torture and the war crime of rape and other forms of sexual violence. Israel's government said it rejected the accusations of widespread ill treatment and torture of detainees and insisted that it was fully committed to international legal standards. It also said it had carried out thorough investigations into every complaint.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They're really in line with international law. They've never been in compliance with any international law. Their mere existence is a violation of international law. So it doesn't really, that's just really kind of funny.
And now we will prove to you once and for all that Israel has reached the stage of I don't give a fuck.
האירוע בשדה תימן גרם לנזק תדמיתי עצום למדינת ישראל ולצבא ההגנה לישראל ולחיילים שלנו. זה אולי הפיגוע ההסברתי הקשה ביותר שמדינת ישראל חוותה מאז הקמתה. אני לא זוכר דבר ממוקד בעוצמה כזאת. זה מחייב בדיקה עצמאית ובלתי תלויה, אני מצפה שגם כזאת תתבצע.
Well, I guess if you're the person conducting the investigation, Milikowski, then everything will be completely above board. There couldn't possibly be any bias against your genocidal army of animals, is there?
I mean, in all fairness, I don't trust any internal investigation from anybody who's, accused of doing something, because if you're accused of doing it, chances are you'll lie about it too. Right. So, I mean, that's just silly. That's the whole problem with everything from internal affairs in a police department to any of it. It's just it doesn't work that way.
Jen, somebody who may have been close to where you went to grad school is saying hello.
Hello from Chicagoland.
Yes, Jessica.
Yeah, I do love Chicago. And what they're dealing with there is just insanity. What they're dealing with there with the ICE and the neighborhoods and I'm hopeful that people that are really coming out and showing up for their neighbors and their people that they know and their fellow classmates and their fellow people, because it's just, that's how this is going to come down to. That's what this is going to look like.
And for those of you in the chat who I see are craving pizza, and if you've ever been to Chicago, Giordano's is my vote. Chicago style.
I like all pizza. I really do.
I don't think there's too many people who don't like pizza.
Well, there's some people that specifically don't like Chicago style pizza. Now, I am kind of I'm an equal pizza opportunity person. Like, if it's good of whatever version it is, then I'm going to like it. If it's really good Chicago pizza, if it's, really good New York pizza, like, I'm going to like it. I'm very pizza fluid.
Jen's a equal opportunist pizza lover. So
I am.
Pizzas, you got a shot. Even pineapple.
The only time I don't like pizza is when it's really shitty pizza, like at a bowling alley, or like when we were kids.
Pizza.
Right. Or like I would say at the skating rink, it was horrible. Or at like snack stands at games and stuff like that, right? Like, but good pizza, yeah. Equal opportunity, thin crust, thick crust, round, square, deep dish, Chicago, Detroit, you name it, I'm with it.
I agree with somebody who can speak to this, our overseas buddy. Yes, I think that thin crust, oily, but not very oily. Just a little taste. Just as Bobby De Niro would say, just a little taste.
And some frozen pizzas do the trick. Some frozen pizzas will do the trick. I mean, look, it's like anything else. Some frozen pizzas are better than other frozen pizzas, but I'm never going to say that I like a frozen pizza better than a good fresh pizza. I mean, that's not a thing. But there probably are good frozen pizzas that are better than some really shitty fresh pizzas.
If you want to talk about really shitty pizzas, so we can continue, kosher pizza sucks.
It depends. I've had good kosher pizza. No, I've had good kosher pizza. I'm just saying.
So you say. I disagree. So we'll hear, I believe this is from a soldier and what he has to say.
בבגידה בכל עם ישראל, בבגידה בחיילי צה"ל, רשעות ורעות לב לעשות מעשה כזה. עכשיו, אני מקווה מאוד שהכוחות שצריכים לחקור אותה יצליחו להוציא ממנה, ואני מאמין שכן, למה יעשה את זה ומי עומד מאחוריה.
מה אתם
What is behind her and why'd she do that, and hope they get it out of her? So in other words, you're hoping that they like rape, torture.
Maybe this is the guy who stuck a machete up the guy's ass.
I actually do think this is one of the soldiers that was in that group of people. I do. And they were being detained and they were being questioned, and then they weren't. And then the entire city came and rallied behind them, broke into the detention center, and they were freed. And that was it. And then they had a whole argument in their legislative body, the Knesset. They had a whole argument about whether or not it's a violation of their rights, because they don't really have rights because they're animals.
What the hell is going on with his eyes? It's like there's nothing there.
I don't know. He's soulless.
That's for sure.
אנחנו רוצים קודם כל, דבר ראשון, לעצור את המשפט. דבר שני, עכשיו להחזיר את כולם למילואים. ואנחנו רוצים גב. אנחנו רוצים גב מהציבור, כדי לתבוע אותה, ולתבוע את העלבון הזה שנעשה לכל עם ישראל, ובפרט לחיילי כוח 100.
מה עבר עליכם במהלך השנה האחרונה? מה עבר עליך, למשפחה שלכם?
They are the worst people on the planet. Listen, Mr. Rapist Soldier, what have you and your family gone through this past year? After
with
all
this blood libel about you doing something so heinous, but yet there's video footage. Again, she didn't say this. This isn't hearsay. It wasn't like she walked around and was spreading rumors about your unit doing shit. She leaked footage that you all knew was filmed. That's what's so, like, the audacity of these people, because they are so proud of themselves. Again, they stormed the facility demanding that this was an acceptable thing to do to a detainee. So you don't get to defend it, say it's a good thing, and then deny it happened. Right? Like, why? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
We'll finish it up.
לי אישית יש לי צמרמורת, אני, אמנם שאלת אותי על קשה מאוד, כדורים, טיפולים, אחד שהתגרש, אחד שחטף התקף לב, ואני לא מגזים. ההשפעה של החקירות והרוע והתמשכות המעצר פגעה בילדים הקטנים האלה, פגעה באנשים, פגעה בכולם, בכל עם ישראל. אני פשוט רואה את האנשים האלה מתפרקים לי מול העיניים, ואני מקווה מאוד שמה שקורה עכשיו, קבל עם והעולם יחזק את נפשם ויחזירם לאיתנם. ומהר מהר להחזיר להם את המדים, אם אתם רוצים קצת לשפר את המצב רוח של הנפש. מחקו מהר את המשפט הזה, בטלו אותו, מחקו את ההרשאות, והחזירו את הלוחמים לצבא בבקשה.
מאיר בן שטרית, אנחנו נמשיך לעקוב ולספר את הסיפור שלכם. מקווה שזה יצא לאור, כן.
אני צריך את התמיכה, אני פרסמתי, אני צריך את התמיכה של עם ישראל, של עם ישראל כולו, ברשתות, עם הפרסום שלי, אני צריך את התמיכה ואת הגב.
That is the face of a genocidal bastard who deserves the death penalty, and I would hang him in the town square. And he is,
I am opposed to capital punishment, but let's just
well, I'm not.
I'm a big believer in karma. So there's that. But somebody wanted me to say something in Hebrew, so I'm going to tell you the only thing I know how to say is Lektis Dayan, which is go get fucked. So that's what I would say to him.
Well, I guess of all the things to know in Hebrew, that's probably...
I know how to say go fuck yourself, basically, in Hebrew. That's all I know.
Well, that's all anybody ever wants to know anyways. What are the curse words? When somebody's asking somebody, especially from a juvenile perspective, of what can you tell me about your language? Tell me how to curse in your language.
Well, yeah.
If anybody deserves to... How do you say it one more time, Jen?
It's Lektis Dayan, and it's go get fucked.
If you want to see what an actual mass murderer looks like, of this genocidal fake state that we have attached ourselves to the hip with, that's it. That's him. He's one of them. And he's a murderer. There is no question in my mind. He just says, I want the charges dropped so I can get back out into the field so I can kill more. That's what he wants to do. But maybe there is some justice in this world. I don't think so, because in the end, Israel believes that they are above the law. And for now they are, but hopefully not for much longer. We have a very special guest this evening, Jen. Would you like to do the honors?
Yes, I do. So anybody who, well, I mean, it's been a long time since Eleanor's been on. It's been, I think, since the first documentary. So Eleanor Goldfield is a person, I mean, she's an artist person, which to me is like the highest esteem I give to people, is that they're artists, right? Like that's a thing. But this is the official thing. She's producer and co-host of Project Censored radio show. On the board, she's on the board of Media Freedom Foundation, which oversees Project Censored. And she does a lot of things. She dabbles, which I like. Like, she's versatile. I kind of feel like, I said this to Lee. I texted this in, like, these are people that I think I would hang out with. Like, if we lived in the same place, like I would definitely want to invite her to Winter Solstice. You know what I mean? Like, it would definitely be a cool vibe. So she has 2 documentaries. I've only seen one, Hard Road of Hope, which won International National Film Awards. It's really good, guys. It's about the mining of the mountains in West Virginia and that were killing the people there. And the second one is To the Trees. Both are available at hardroadofhope.com and tothetreesfilm.com, and we will make sure descriptions or both links are in the description. And yeah, she's just an awesome person to talk to. So
the better half.
I know. I tried to get them both to come on, but they're tag teaming their little people.
Fairly warned, but the better half. Eleanor Goldfield, welcome for the first time to Revolutionary Change.
Thank you so much. And to be clear, we're not like babysitting little people like Oompa Loompas.
No.
We have a child and a very grumpy octogenarian cat. So
no, it's funny. My mom and I I just refer to the children, she's the little people. Like, she would call me when my boys were little, and she's like, what are the little people up to? And it just sort of took, and it never occurred to me that was something that people that are little people refer to themselves as little people. And and they thought that I was making fun of, I'm like, no, we always called the kids the little people. And I really was very pleased with your Instagram post today, even though I've never seen your baby's face. I do like the black tutu. I think he really had it going on.
Look, I think kids are far more stylish than most adults. And
oh yeah.
He has inspired me to bring out my tutu. I also have a black tutu, so we're gonna get all matchy with that.
That's really cool. Thank you so much for coming on. And I was watching the other day when you were streaming, and I did go and sign up for that event that you're doing.
Oh, great.
And so yeah, so let's talk about that so that I know that we've covered what you're up to, so that everybody knows these things. But Eleanor has a very cool event coming up that's a virtual event, so everybody can join or at least help and support. So talk about that.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. So on November 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern, sorry to all my friends in Europe, there is going to be a conversation between Mohammed Bamieh, who's a Palestinian author and professor, and Ather Zia, who is a Kashmiri author and professor, basically talking about the no-state solution, not just for occupied Palestine, but for Kashmir as well, and how the nation-state is actually a colonial construct. And so when we speak of true liberation, we have to speak of it outside of the confines of the nation-state system. It's a ticketed event, and all the money goes to doctors in central Gaza, Deir al-Balach, Gaza. So yeah, check it out. It's at artkillingapathy.simpletix with an X, because people are being cute.com.
Yeah. And I am going to be on there. Not that anybody will see me, but I'll be thinking of you all while I'm on there. But it's one of those things, guys, that even if you can't go, just throw a little money their way. It's going to help Gaza, and we need to all be sort of collectively working on that. So I appreciate that. But you always have so much fun stuff going on. Like I've never really been to Baltimore, but I know that if I go, I got to hang out at Red Emma's because of you.
Yes, you do. Red Emma's is amazing. It's one of those places that when you go there, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. The world is completely crazy, but this place reminds you that there are good people out there who actually believe in justice for all the oppressed. It's a wonderful co-op bookstore and coffee shop. Yeah, and Baltimore is way cooler than people give it credit for. So I like that it's kind of been a self-selecting city of people who actually want to be here, because everyone just watched The Wire and thinks that it's terrible. And I'm like, oh, did you think Baltimore had a monopoly on crooked cops? That's cute.
Yeah.
I was going to say Baltimore is a tale of two cities, if there ever was. It's the east part of Baltimore, which you would like to be in, and then there's the west part of Baltimore, which, yes, is a very, very rough city. What has been your experience like, as Jen constantly talks about being a Jewish American and constantly hearing the conflation? I've been covering Nick Fuentes quite a bit because of the fact that we do have this America First libertarian-esque type movement right now that is definitively, emphatically moving away from Israel. But the conflation that it's a Jewish problem and not a Zionist problem has become a big source of contention, I think, amongst a lot of people. And I would be curious, being your background, Lee's background, Jen's background, what has it been like for you trying to, I would just say, define the narrative that is nuanced and effective rather than it just being blanketed, as so many people have done, to sort of take advantage of the situation in what is not such a good way?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that there are more Christian Zionists in the United States alone than there are Jews worldwide. About 30 million Christian Zionists in the United States. There are roughly 16 million Jews worldwide. That being said, I will say it is a Jewish problem, because what Israel is doing is in the name of Jews, and they routinely say, Netanyahu will go up there and say, I speak for all Jews, as if there were like global Jewish elections. Right. That we have in our little covens where we eat babies or whatever. So, I mean, it is inherently very anti-Semitic, Zionism, not just because of the fact that Palestinians are Semitic, but if we just say anti-Jewish, Israel is an inherently anti-Jewish project. Because it suggests that the only safe place for Jews is in this extremely militarized, violent apartheid state, and that the only safe place is on the other side of genocide, which history shows you that that's never the case, right? There's no safety to be found on the other side of genocide. And it suggests that Jews can't and shouldn't live anywhere else. And this is, of course, why, as long as there's been Zionism in Jewish communities, there's been anti-Zionism. The concept of Deutschheit, which is wherever we are, that's our home. And we have a right to be everywhere, and we always have been. So this idea that we only belong in one place is inherently anti-Jewish. And I think that right now, as Ariel Angel wrote a really beautiful piece in Jewish Currents not too long ago, saying that we need new Jewish institutions, and it's really about this splintering that's happening. And I've hosted a couple of Jewish grief sessions because I don't like when Jewish grief takes the center stage in this conversation, because it's not about that. It's about genocide of and ethnic cleansing of people of Palestine.
But it's
like,
still
also,
real. It's still
and,
real
and that's
for
my
us.
point, is that like we need those spaces, just like there should be spaces where white folks talk about like, okay, I'm struggling with white guilt. I'm struggling. Like, don't put that. Can I curse here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Don't put that shit on like the rest of the non-white community, but like talk amongst yourselves, you know? And so I've been hosting these Jewish grief spaces because there is an extreme splintering that's happening in the Jewish community. A lot of it is along age lines. Some of it's along, orthodoxy lines, but a lot of it is just basically like disowning people for being anti-Zionist. I know a friend of mine, his family was literally trying to put him into an institution because they claimed that he was insane because he was anti-Zionist. There is an extreme splintering happening. And I don't know if Judaism will recover, but I think it's also a really great opportunity to dig up some of the nasty shit that is a part of Judaism, unfortunately, whether that be like violent patriarchy, whether that be, anti-queerness, whether that like whatever it is, racism. I think it's a really good time to tease that out and be like, hey, let's bring this shit up, because we've just been leaning on we're always the victims. But really, we have some shit that we need to discuss, even beyond the current genocide in Gaza. And I think that a lot of that speaks to the fact that a lot of Jews were able to be co-opted, that their grief and their pain was able to be co-opted into what is now the terrorist state of Israel.
Yeah, it's basically, it's like a catch-22, right? Like trauma begets trauma begets trauma, and it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So on the one hand, there are real victims of real anti-Jew behavior. There's that, like, that's a real thing. But not to the extent that it has anything to do with the Zionist state, and certainly not regarding the amount that they're saying that there is. But I agree, it's an us problem. And it's an us problem.
And I think the other thing too is that we have to look at how memory culture is used against us. I went to Auschwitz when I was 13. I don't think that anybody should go to Auschwitz. I don't think that we should keep it in this plastic kind of saran wrap, because the problem with teaching about Auschwitz the way that it often is that it is a beeline. It's it's a gateway drug to Zionism, right?
Yes.
We need Israel because Auschwitz, right? And I think, and they do this because when you are in a traumatized state, when I went to Auschwitz, the entire right side of my body went numb. I was having a trauma reaction. I didn't know it at the time.
Everybody who I've ever spoken to who's ever been there and stood on the train tracks has said that they feel death. They feel death all over their body.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not? There's still ashes in the ovens. I mean, that place is preserved in a grotesque way on purpose. And I'm not saying that everybody who wanted it preserved has these, ulterior motives, but it's been twisted that way, right? They fly Israeli flags there. And so I think it's important to recognize how this trauma is used. And I think it's important to talk about how we learn our history, because it's not enough to learn history. It's about how you learn it. And so the fact that Jewish youth, I mean, there are Jewish youth who reenact Holocaust situations. Why in the fuck would you do that? That's horrific. And yet we do it because, again, it's a gateway drug to Zionism. And, they already have October 7th tours in occupied Palestine, right? Because they know how to use that trauma. And I'll just point this out too really quick. right? When Israel was first founded, they didn't want to use the Shoah because they felt that what that represented was the weak Jews who died. So they were happy about it. They were glad of it.
Yeah.
And then they realized that they could use that as a sympathy framing for people to support Israel. But when it first started, they were no fans of the survivors and they had no love for the victims of the Shoah. So I think it's important to talk about that as well.
Yeah. For sure.
That is a great point. And I think it is, I'm sure you're aware of this wonderful event that took place over the weekend. The Republican Jewish Council had, Jen, there was like a specific.
I don't know, but the logo is the blue star. Okay. So whatever it is, it's Zio. It's Republican Zio Organization 101. I don't know. Whatever. It has.
Were there any awkward gestures by Elon Musk and friends, or
no? It's just. But there's a lot of other douchery that occurs in this thing. This
little
is
bit of Dr. Strangelove type
dude,
stuff.
it is so Dr. Strange. Like, I feel more and more that we live in a simulation. It's just like, this is the dumbest fucking timeline.
Dude, I don't
literally a Great
understand
Gatsby like party the day that people lose their food. It's
the Hunger Games. We're in the Hunger Games. It's absurd. Like, the only thing is it's like we need to all feel privileged that we live in the capital. But at the end of the day, this is the Hunger Games. It's just, you got Haiti is District 12. You know, you've got certain places that are that. But yeah, the Republican Jewish coalition, because that's what we needed, a coalition between. We needed to further cement the coalition of Jews and Republicans.
Well, and of course, what's so funny about this is that place is rife with Christian Zionists who, for folks who don't know, literally the Christian Zionist evangelical rundown of events as they see it is that they have to get all the Jews into the Holy Land, and then that will precipitate the apocalypse, at which point the Jews will burn in hell for all eternity. So y'all are literally, the Jews at that event are literally hanging out with people who are like stoked that they're going to burn in eternal hellfire. I mean, it is, oh, dude.
Well, and I want to put out there that I'm not just going to hell. All right. There's an office with my name on the door. Okay. I'm not concerned about that. All right. My office will be nicely decorated.
Did you see the president like a week ago? He asked him, "Hey, are you going to heaven?" "Oh, no, I'm totally not going to heaven. Believe me, there's no way I'm going there." And I just thought, yeah, well, you know, he's just going to live his life out as long as he can, and he's going to.
The Great Gatsby theme was pretty rich, coming from no, all puns intended, from this.
So
and
amazing.
I really think, as I always said, he facilitates the revolution. Trump facilitates the revolution because he has done such a good job of pissing off the red team that I didn't even know that was possible to the level that it is. So, I mean, it's really kind of
a lot of his voters lost their SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And I do think that Fuentes is going to become a real force going forward because there is not enough voices on the left. Fuentes did a stream of his the other night, and he actually used the words revolution, that we need a revolution in this country. And all I'm thinking is, you still got streamers on the left with sizable platforms that still think that you can save the Democratic Party. Like, that's how completely disconnected so many people are at this stage. But I would say if there's a silver lining in all of this, it's that the neocon ideology is the first one that's going to fall in this country. And it's vastly on it's very at a pace that is accelerated so fast. I don't even think they've seen it coming. You can credit the state of Israel for playing a huge part of it in the fact that they're just so brazen in how they conduct business. But then you have who we're going to lead off with.
Mark Levin.
Mark Levin is probably, of all of the pro-Israel, anti-American voices in all of corporate media, because he's such a prick.
Well,
yeah, like he's at the top. But here's what tough guy Mark Levin had to say.
Have you seen this, Eleanor? Have you seen this thing from our? Okay, I don't watch this either, but this is amusing.
Well, he's tough. He's very tough.
He's very tough.
Just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it.
I'll take my chances.
I was going to say, I like those odds.
He looks like a slightly older Rudy Giuliani. Anybody else thinks? Is that just me? I don't know.
No, I could see it without the bleeding hair. Yeah, I could see it.
I don't even know who this person is, which sometimes I am blissfully ignorant of douchebag.
I love that about
talking
you.
heads.
I love that about you, and I love that for you.
Yes, I have. There's very little space in my head left for extra content, and I try to fill it with cat videos.
Who is he? He's the guy from he's the guy from Fox, right?
So when Fox News was at its peak, let's say 10, 15 years ago, there were a contingent of people that had their channels that were very big. Megyn Kelly had her show. Tucker Carlson had his show. Sean Hannity has always had his show. Fuck Sean Hannity, especially because he's Irish. That scumbag going down with the ship.
But you digress.
But then you also have Mark Levin. And Levin has been there for a long time. And I'll tell you, the one thing about him that has always stood out to me, he is the most miserable son of a bitch I have ever seen. And he is a short man. That's one thing I'll never forget, because I met Giuliani once. And the one thing I still remember most about meeting him was how short of a man he was. He's a short guy. And I'm always skeptical of these Napoleon-like people that end up.
Rubio.
Of course. Just always be skeptical. And that's not to say that short men with power are all bad, but most bad men that are short, that have power, that end up being bad, you can attribute it to the fact that they're a very unhappy person inside. And Mark Levin may say that he's a happy person of some kind, but I sure as shit have never seen it. And this guy is as a Israel first, anti-American piece of scumbag shit that I have ever seen. He actually makes Ben Shapiro seem appealing, which is almost impossible if you really think about it. But he is just one of a few. Let's finish this out, and then we get a little bit more.
You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
You go, Mark Levin. You show us.
I really expect the next line to be, "You can't come to my birthday party." Like, that's the vibe I'm getting here. I'm getting like 6th grade temper tantrum vibes here.
Well, what do you get from Trump?
See, I don't even want to say it's more juvenile, because that's not fair to kids. Because
I was going to say,
I've never met a kid that
like your kid is infinitely more capable and competent. So I mean, why would you do
I think in general kids are, because they actually learn about empathy and fairness. So I actually think the world would be better if like a bunch of 5-year-olds ran it.
It would be interesting. It would be colorful.
Excuse me. Never happening. I'm totally running the world until I'm no longer here. That's what's going to happen. Believe me. And I only supported Randy Fine because he's even bigger than me and he makes me look like a thin person. And that's exactly why. So Randy
Fine. You do know, Eleanor, that they leave you for a while, these boys, right? Like I would say age 12-ish. I'd say 12-ish to like 18-ish. It's like, they're out there. You know, they start to smell like a foot and wear their hair like alpacas. I'm not entirely sure why, but I am happy to say that they come back. They come back, because I have a 25 and a 19, and they're so nice, those boys, right? Like, so I'm just saying, like, you're still in the glorious 4 to 9-year-old range. Glorious 4 to 9 is the beautiful. It's the sweet spot. It really is the sweet spot.
I have a feeling that you and Lee are going to be the cool parents, and all the
kids.
They
are the cool parents.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna. Your kids are not, or kids are not going to be embarrassed by you. I think they're going to know that you're with it, and you know, sort of like the social trends and things like that make them the cool kids and all that good jazz. So,
I mean, I'm remarkably socially awkward, so we'll see.
I think you're kind of cool.
You're very cool, but you know what? Because that's the thing. Look, this is what we were talking about this not that long ago, when I don't remember what clip we were watching, was saying how there's all these artists that are saying this about Israel, and I'm thinking, yes, if the artist, if you are not on the right side of history as the artist, you're on the wrong side of history. You just have to, like, that's just how this goes. And I think people like you, it's like, we're in here. It's like just in here, and the stuff has to get out there. And the problem is people often interfere with the getting of this out there. And unless they're kind of facilitating it, it's kind of, they're in the way of it. And I appreciate that.
Well,
you know what I mean.
From one bad Jew to an even worse Jew, if you can even imagine that. I mean, I still say Wasserman Schultz is the worst of the worst in Congress, but man, Randy Fine is really working hard for that title. Really hard.
I'm here for the kids down here because it's easy to talk about anti-Semitism on the left. I want to talk about the dark force rising on our side. Multiple speakers have talked about the rise of anti-Semitism on the right. But it is not enough to speak in platitudes or generalities about the fight. We must call evil by its name. 5 years ago, if I was talking to my father, who's watching, hi Dad, if I was talking to my father at 8:59 p.m. at night, he would say, Randy, I gotta go. Tucker Carlson's gonna be on. But make no mistake, today, Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America.
Wait, what? What happened?
Tucker Carlson's an anti-Semite.
Not only,
I mean, I don't know that I really disagree because none of these people like Jews. To quote Henry Kissinger loosely, if I weren't Jewish, I probably would be an anti-Semite. But I don't really. I'm not following what did Tucker Carlson do?
He's been evolving on this issue. And
I know that he's critical of Israel, so that's what he's talking about, right?
Correct.
So
okay.
When Tucker did his podcast with Nick Fuentes this past week, and this is what they're all up in arms about, he specifically said, there is no one who offends me more in this country today than Christian Zionists. He says they are the worst. They are committing acts of such heresy against Christianity that they need to be called out for what they are. And it really has been kind of lost on. This is why I think Tucker is the most dangerous in a good way, because he's talking about Christian Zionists. See, as stereotypical as this may be, the Jewish Zionists provide the money. The Christian Zionists are the sheep. They're the flock. They are the millions upon millions of people in the Hagee churches and the Austin churches, and they all listen to these people say, well, you got to listen to what Israel does. They're infallible. You know, we're on board with this, or you'll burn in hell if you don't listen. And it seems that the narrative has been changing ever so slightly to ever so significantly over the past 2 years. Randy Fine, who sat in the Florida legislature for, I think, 10 years between or actually it was about 8 years. Point is, I never saw him wear a yarmulke ever. Now
because he doesn't, and that's the thing, Barack S. We don't mock the yarmulke; we mock it on him. For the love of all that is holy, and it is not the same as a hijab on someone like him. He's just an opportunist. He never wore that until he just got stuck in Congress now. He never wore a yarmulke.
The second he got to Congress, he started showing up at every event with it on his head.
Exactly.
Within the course of one election cycle, he's taken approximately $400,000 from the AIPAC lobby. And that's just one. Lord knows how many others he's being funded by. Now, there is a guy who is running against him, and this is a very red district that he represents, but the people there do not like him at all. And he's being challenged in a primary right now. And I think this gentleman, Aaron Baker, is going to be pretty formidable. The Volusia County GOP is already backing him. So from what I can tell, Fine doesn't really care whether he stays in Congress or not. His goal is to become as wealthy as possible by sucking off Israel 24/7. That's my opinion. I haven't seen anything to the contrary to suggest otherwise, because the guy doesn't govern. He doesn't or legislate. He doesn't do any of that. In fact, the only piece of legislation that he has put forward is calling out people's dual loyalty to other countries except for Israel.
Right.
So I don't know about you,
Are you familiar with Randy Fine?
Vaguely, but I do not follow electoralism. I find it to be, and this is like I'm not throwing shade at anybody who does. It's just not where I feel the most change will happen, can happen.
Agreed.
As somebody who, when I was younger, I worked on John Edwards' campaign. Lord forgive me my sins.
I met him in person. He was very charming, and it was definitely, he definitely was able to like draw us in.
My feeling is that being a history nerd, I feel that the kind of change that's needed does not come from electoralism. Again, I respect people who do work in it and who try to get people like Shama Sawant, elected and things like that. I think that local politics are far more important than federal politics in general. But I think that most of the work that I do, actually like 99.9% of the work that I do, happens outside of electoralism and happens in terms of community organizing and critical media literacy. So I'm aware of who Randy Fine is, but whether I listen to or pay attention to or anything like that about what this penis wrinkle does on a daily basis, I don't. And I don't have like opinions or any ideas of what's happened recently besides what this is and what y'all are saying.
I'm sorry that we're putting this in your brain to add it to your trauma, but what he does do is eat. He eats a lot.
Yeah, and I know you said penis wrinkle, but I have a feeling he hasn't found it in quite some time.
He hasn't seen it. He don't know where it is. You can't find that. He's
got a little bit more. He's not fine. Not at all.
He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions. Friends, make no mistake, Tucker is not MAGA.
Oh my God, they have signs. Oh, bless their heart.
Tucker's fall from grace has been one of the most extraordinary implosions in political history.
Wow, you don't know history.
And the rapidity of it has created real challenges for us all. Because our friends don't have our shared experience. I even deal with this with my colleagues in the House. See, they remember the Tucker of 5 years ago. They don't live with anti-Semitism.
Oh my God, just go to couples therapy.
The way that we do.
Right?
And it's jarring for them to try to understand, how did this person become who he is today?
This is literally lines from a Lifetime movie.
He's inspired a movement of hate in our midst. And I'm not done calling people out.
Oh no, you're just getting started, right, Randy?
Can you explain that of all the little hats one can wear, he wears a red one?
Well, he is a Republican. I mean, it is the Republican Jewish coalition. I mean, I don't know.
And kind of circling back to like the bigger picture, like that is a threat to Jews worldwide. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, you can look at statistically, like before the genocide, every time that Israel bombed Gaza, there was a rise in like attacks against Jews worldwide. People like that talking about Israel equals Judaism, or conflating those two in such grotesque and like simple ways is the largest threat to Jews. And so Israel, I like to say, is the largest threat to Jews worldwide. And that conflation is remarkably dangerous, and why it's so important that there are Jews who speak out against that and make sure that those are separate and continue to be separate. And I mean, I was saying this before October 7th, because of course nothing started on October 7th, but it's like,
it didn't?
I think, hold on to your hat. I know like, I feel like that's the thing that we have to keep repeating and never stop saying, that Judaism does not equal Zionism. Because and also recognize that there's going to be more fallout from this, and there's going to be attacks against Jews globally because of what Israel does, and we have to grapple with that. That's one of the things that we have to grapple with as Jews, and really fight against the bullshit that these people are saying. So that, again, even though I don't dabble in electoralism, I'm glad that y'all are like showing these clips and breaking this shit down and being like, this is why this piece of shit is so wrong. I think that's really important, because I have heard from a lot of non-Jews like, oh, well, I don't know about, I've wanted to like organize about Palestine in my workplace, but I'm afraid that people come at me for being anti-Semitic. And then it's like, hey, I'll be your friendly anti-Zionist neighborhood Jew, and let me break it down for you. I'm happy to like come speak about it and be like your token Jew or whatever. But like, it's so important to break that shit down wherever we see it. So I think that it is important that y'all are covering this and really making that distinction.
Yeah, I know we have a real problem because, and the more we go forward, the more, of course, it's coming out that the amount of actual, what we thought were anti-Semitic attacks, a lot of those have been very created and manipulated and false flags and all of that stuff. And so we're very in a boy who cried wolf situation, I feel like, as Jewish people, because yeah, it's our problem that we have to deal with. A lot of what's going to happen is real, but we don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. I don't know what's been created to look like it's anti-Semitism so that we are consent to what you're doing. Like what we don't know anymore. And that's what they've purposefully done. And yet
there's a lot of,
it's our responsibility. I feel like it's incumbent, as somebody who participated in ethnic cleansing, because I did, I feel like it's incumbent upon us to be loud about it.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of gray area on purpose. A lot of the people at that event don't like Jews, but they like Israel. And,
yep.
It's like,
yep.
So there is a lot of confusion and talk about self-hating Jews, and I think that's purposeful. And I also think that it's important to recognize that a lot of the anti-Semitism, that like legitimate anti-Semitism, happens in ways that are uplifted far greater than any violence against Muslims, any violence against immigrants, any violence against, I think, the first time I experienced anti-Semitism, I was like, I don't know, 12, and somebody told a Holocaust joke. And I didn't know what to do, and I just kind of froze. And that was awful. And I still remember it. I still remember how that felt. And also, it's nothing compared to what people in Palestine go through on a daily basis. And I think that, again, like there has to be that analysis. And of course, again, this recognition that anti-Semitism does not mean you criticize Israel, right? Israel is a nation state, an apartheid nation state. Judaism is, and that's the thing. Judaism is a religion. It's a culture with like almost 6,000 years of history. That would be like saying that Zionism is equal to Judaism is like saying that like this phone is equivalent to like humanity, or like the last 6,000 years of humanity. No, it's not. Zionism is a little blip, and I think it was Gabor Mate who said that Zionism will be a blip, a very dark blip, but it will be a blip on Judaism. And I think that we have to contextualize it. Like, don't let this become the story of Judaism. I mean, we're already at the point where the Magen David is basically like a swastika. And, I've had Palestinians come over here and I to my house, and I cover up all of the Star of David symbols that I can find, because I realize how fucking triggering that is and how fucked up that is, that now the Star of David is like the swastika. And how the hell have we let that happen? And I do place this at the feet of a lot of Jews, because I think, again, we've been traumatized into making this okay. My dad grew up in Brooklyn, and they literally celebrated Balfour's birthday when he was a kid. So I think like there is a very twisted relationship with this that we have allowed to turn into what was always going to be the end result: genocide and ethnic cleansing, right? Just like we see in the United States, all settler colonial states begin this way and have this as in their DNA. So I think that there is a lot that has to be placed on our shoulders as well.
I definitely agree. And from my perspective, it's maybe not. It's not as thorough as both of yours is. I do think, just objectively speaking, that so much of the Zionist movement in the Jewish community is very class-based. It seems that the people that are the most devoted to the state of Israel are from very comfortable backgrounds. Working class Jews in particular are not on board with this. I reference people like you and Lee, Jen, Keaton and Russell from Do Dissonance. There are people that are out there that Katie Halper. Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. They're people just see what they want to see. And I think when they see people like Randy Fine and Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, they just assume that everybody who's Jewish is like that. And that, and also in large part, I do blame the media sphere.
Okay, let's show Eleanor the fun Ben Shapiro clip because she'll appreciate this. Oh, this is funny. This is no. This is good. Okay, yeah, well, this is good. You'll like this. This is a young Ben Shapiro.
Think you're better than me, Paul? Do you think you're hanging here all day or higher than me? You're better than me? Yeah, well, I don't miss you. You're not. I'm a father. I can think that you're not better than me at all. Yeah, I'll teach you.
It never gets old. It's so funny.
Who dug that up from where?
I don't know where we originally found that, but it's like if you listen, he's like pretending to debate the bag, like the punching bag. He's sitting there debating it. Like, I can think I am better than you.
I just wanted to like just a brief tangent. I think this is why it's very important that people who are around young boys that are, even as young as mine, who's 3, that you really recognize toxic masculinity and you veer away from that shit. Read some bell hooks, talk about the patriarchy, because a lot of this is just, and I'm not saying Ben Shapiro's only problem is toxic masculinity, but holy shit. And this is very evidenced in how like the IDF operates and all of that. But like, this is some real, I have to show that I'm the big, strong man. And what better way to do that than genocide and ethnic cleansing,
Well, if you're bringing that up, then I do have one more clip to play from this wonderful event that just took place.
Oh, can we move? Wait, you have more on that? Okay. All right.
This one's important because if you want to talk about somebody who is the most overcompensator in all of politics.
Oh, okay. Yes. This is,
we all know who that is. Even if you don't pay attention to electoral politics, you know who this guy is.
Recognize Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
You're not actually cutting anybody's taxes except for like Elon Musk and friends. So I don't like, that's just false. Wow.
But they are killing people. They are
killing people. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it ain't costing you anything. That's what he said initially when it came to Ukraine, Russia. So
because you're just getting the money out of thin air. That's
He's a bad boy.
Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism.
Yes.
We love Israel. We love
Notice
the
how he
idea
didn't
of
actually
Israel.
say we love the United States.
No.
Not allowed to say that in that house. Okay, seriously, he's drunk out of his mind.
Dude,
He
he's
really-
shit-faced. I'm getting some like Gorbachev like vibes here. This is very like I've got shit-faced before this political event.
Yeah, he's like, all right, how long do I have to go on stage and tell him how much I love Israel? All right, give me a couple of shots of tequila and I'll be
Also,
You know
does
he's
he
wearing
sounding more and
women's
more like Bill
undergarments.
Clinton, or is
You
it
know
just
he's
me?
wearing women's undergarments.
Say that again, Eleanor.
I feel like he's sounding more and more like Bill Clinton.
Well, listen, the only person here who can sound like Bill Clinton is actually me. So don't ever accuse me I've ever coming from my imitation. I'm just saying.
We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry.
What are you talking
The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel. And where I come from, I figured that crap out when I was 6 years old. God bless you. Thank you very much.
What? I don't even know what those
incoherent.
words mean. Okay, another tangent here for people, because I know that people get confused, understandably, by the word Israel showing up in a lot of like ancient texts. The original meaning of the word Yisrael is those who struggle with God. It means that the people of this faith struggle with their faith, that we do not just accept blindly our faith as Jews. We struggle with it. So something like that you'll see like scrawled in these these anti-Palestinian like covering up Palestinian artwork and stuff. It says Am Yisrael Chai, which means like long live Israel. Problem is, people who wrote that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because Israel literally means the people, like the people, and we are the diaspora. So the original name of the word Israel means those who struggle with God. It's about people. And if you want to talk about Eretz Israel, like the place, this is about the land, the Holy Land. It has nothing to do with nation state. Again, nation state is a modern and a colonialist framework. So the idea that something in the Torah would be talking about nation states, that would be like something in the Bible talking about iPhones. Like, it makes no fucking sense. It's completely ahistorical. So again, I understand when people are like confused about, well, I saw the word Israel, so it must be. No, they just stole that name because fascists can't come up with their own damn ideas. So they steal shit, which is exactly what the modern nation state of Israel did. It stole a name that has historical and really beautiful significance, and they made it their own, and now they ruined it. And now no one can use the word Israel.
And now we can't have nice things anymore.
Now we can't have nice things.
That's what it feels like. And, you know, they need to go away. They can't exist. Like, they had their state. They had it in 48. But no, it's like they just kept flying higher and higher and higher to the sun. And now they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose everything. And that, which is just as well, because they never should have had it. It's like Disney World. It's not real. Nothing is real there. It's a complete, it's like the Truman Show or something. It's just not real there.
And the other thing is that funny actually, I went to wherever the Truman Show was filmed a couple of times
in Florida. It's down here,
seaside Florida. It really is.
I'm like 40 minutes from you.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah,
I went there and I was like, oh wow, it really is this.
It looks like a movie set.
Creepily perfect. Yeah. Now I forgot where I was going with that.
And it's one of the most Republican towns you'll ever see.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Well,
of course. That's why it is as nice as it does. That's why it looks as nice as it does.
And as an artist, which I know you can appreciate, even though it is a Republican area, the bookstore in Seaside, which is called Sundog Books. I'm assuming you've been in that store?
Probably.
If you were in Seaside. Okay. That's, if you want to talk about a dying industry in the United States, not just small business, not just any small business, but a small business that, when you think about the two worst mega corporations in the United States, Walmart and Amazon, and what they did to small town America, And only in the affluent small towns that still, to their credit, Seaside does care, even though it is a wealthy town, it does care about small town America. It cares about having the local post office, the local food stands. They care about the local bookstore. Only in communities that have money can afford to have that now. You don't have regular communities that have that. Those are all gone. They moved in to Missouri.
They've been gentrified because they've been gentrified.
But there are, I mean, I will say again, I mean, you brought up Red Emma's, so you started.
I want to go there. I've never really hung out in Baltimore at all. I've only been to the airport.
There are radical bookstores in like that exist. A lot of them are co-ops. So they're not just radical bookstores, but they're actually trying to show like they're doing the future that we imagine, right? Where we are not just slaves to some kind of boss that's vague and opaque, but like we are actually all owners in this endeavor.
So I
think
socialism?
There's a lot of.
Are you talking about? See, Peter, that is a co-op. Is socialism, okay?
But again, I don't care if you're making.
I'm just saying you were saying things were socialist that Mamdani was offering. None of those things are socialist. They're just
fair
social
enough. But what I'm just saying that we can live in a country where people can share different political ideologies. The problem is that the extremism is all anybody ever wants to focus on. It's all.
No, I was just pointing out that is an actual form of socialism. That is what we're trying to achieve. Yeah,
sure. And I don't have a problem with worker co-ops. I don't think anybody should have a problem with them because there is such thing as a balance. You know, I believe in the free market, but I also believe that there is an inherent problem with human greed, but there is also the human spirit. You have to be able to balance the two things. You can't have one and not the other. Just like you don't need fascism, you don't need communism. You need something that actually works because the human spirit wants to achieve, wants to succeed. But then you also have to temper the fact that human greed will take over the spirit. Why should I have $1 million when I can have 50 million or 100 or even $1 billion? Or I could be like Elon Musk, and I think I could take over the world. I could be Jeff Bezos. I could be Bill Gates. And
you realize you're the only person that's a capitalist here right now, right? Like you're talking to the
I'm just curious what, like, because you're what you just described, like the Elon Musk and the Bezos and everything, that is capitalism. That is that inevitable gravity of capitalism.
Thank you. And saying
again,
that to him.
I have to deal with this partner of mine 24/7 yelling in my ear about how I'm a capitalist. And yet at the same time, I have said repeatedly that I don't believe in this system. I do believe in a free market system, but there are ways that you can have a market and also control it. It happens in different parts of the world. What we have here is end stage capitalism. This system is going to break. There's no way it's going to survive. There are too many people that are suffering so mightily. And I even said to Jen at the beginning of the show, the only reason why Mamdani is going to win isn't because his economic message isn't great. It's a fantastic message, but he's going to win because he dared to cross the Zio lobby. And they decided to pull the Streisand effect on him for all it was worth. They never stopped talking about a guy who was polling at 3% at the start of the race. And the next thing you know, he's not only going to win, he's probably going to win in a walk. Like he's going to win.
Yes, and again, bringing back to Mike, but nothing he's proposing is socialist. The point is, right.
But he can, but Mamdani has the ability with one or two policies to create a legitimate paradigm shift. And again, it is New York City, but it's still local politics. You're still talking about, it is big city, but it is still local. And he could create actual fundamental change in that city. And it's going to resonate with people all over the United States. There are people in Baltimore, people in Richmond, people in Atlanta, wherever you could think of, where they're going to say, hey, why do we have to spend $10 on a dozen eggs when you have grocery stores in New York City now that charge $3 for eggs? Why the hell are they getting that? Why don't we get that? That's why
the free market would suggest that eggs could be $50, whereas the idea of a government regulating it would say that's fucking dumb. Let's make sure that they're not above $3.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with that.
But then you don't love the free market.
See, this is
want a regulated
this
market.
is what I deal with, Eleanor. This is what I'm dealing with.
I'm not trying to. I'm honestly just like having a conversation.
Hey, no, please. If you can get him to explain El Power to you, I don't understand it, but I don't support capitalism, so I don't get any of that.
I do believe that there is a way that people have to compete economically because it's an innate human drive, and maybe not for everybody. But what I will say is that
they should all go to some island somewhere called Capitalisma, and they can
I
go
talk
live there.
now? Am I allowed to talk? Can I share my thoughts, please?
Sure.
You either are going to cap it or you're not going to cap it. There are ways that it can be done. We have entered into a world now where, because of Bill Clinton in particular, we created a system where there is no regulation. You can't stop it now. You had it. Just the fact that we had Glass-Steagall was removed 27 years ago and they haven't put it back in. I don't want to hear a damn word about any political party that doesn't support regulation of the banks. If you do not support regulation of the banks, then you do not believe in living in a society that actually has some degree of, you want to call it merit, you want to call it dignity. You could call the system whatever you want. But if you can't temper what is the human spirit against its own greed, then you don't have anything. And if you don't want to call it the free market, you want to call it something else, I'm fine with that. All I'm saying is you're going to find that there are people who will embrace certain elements of capitalism that will always be desired, but there is an element of the fundamental part of capitalism, which is wealth concentration in the hands of the few. And if you think that that's acceptable, which I do not, then you are ultimately going to have a broken system, which is why I would never see capitalism as a standalone political ideology, because it can't work. If you think it can work for if anybody believes that, and I do commercial real estate, and I'm speaking from a perspective of somebody who actually has the capability of making a lot of money in this system. If you think this system can work for the average person, you're a fucking moron. That's all I can say, because it doesn't work.
But that is the nature of that system. Okay.
So what is the solution?
Yes, that would be moving towards socialism, social structures, systems, small communities, regenerative agriculture, sustainable communities, degrowth, right? Like there are solutions. None of them involve more capitalism. That's what I know. But I don't know. But I'm not a free market lover. And I'm happy to wear a uniform. So, I don't ask me.
Your thoughts?
Well, the free market, as I understand it, is unregulated. That's the point of it. So basically anything that would suggest regulations like regulations on the banks, regulations, it is a form of fettering, which is not in line with the concept of a free market. A free market is based on getting as much profit and getting as much, bolstering the market as much as you can, which I feel that the best thing to do is people over profit. It can sound a bit trite, but at the end of the day, I think that that's most important. I would also say that, ecosystems above profit as well, not just humans. But I think the other thing is that human nature looks a lot of ways. I mean, you look at Kropotkin's writings on mutual aid. Human beings have survived as long as we have so that we can get to this point and slowly kill ourselves in a fiasco of dumb shittery because we've adapted and because we have the ability to work together. So human nature is also very collaborative. And I think it's just about the system. This system uplifts and pedestals those who are psychopathic and always put profit over people and ecosystems to the point that we're literally drowning in our own dumb shit.
Yes.
So I think that we could just as easily, and we have examples of this, right? We could just as easily highlight those who, the collaborative endeavors. We could just as easily have a system that uplifts that and says, actually, this is what we're doing. So I think the idea that there's always going to be greed, of course, there's always going to be assholes, but it's a matter of whether you exist in a system that pedestals that uplifts that. Yeah, I could have been a corporate lawyer, but I chose not to be. I think that there's always going to be this push and pull. It's a matter of what the system approves of and what it rewards. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
Why do you think there is so much, let's just call it what it is, penis envy for people like Elon, people like Trump? Why do you think that is?
I think I was reading, maybe it was one of Elon's brothers or something that was talking about how mercilessly he was bullied in school. And And I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to be like, well, their childhoods. But I think a lot of it, right? A lot of it does have to do with that. And a lot of it has to do with, again, what we're taught is important. I think it's kind of funny that most kids are taught about sharing. Most kids are taught about fairness and not being mean to other people, inherently anti-capitalist values. But and then at some point we're all taught that's bullshit. Don't listen to that, whatever you learned in kindergarten. But I think there is a lot of this is like how you're taught to be, right? How is it that children of Holocaust survivors are committing a genocide? How did they not get the fucking message? But apparently they didn't, because somewhere along the line, something was uplifted that literally I had a Zionist Jew yell at me once at a protest. It's our turn. So something got legitimately broken. And I think that this is what you see happening with people like Trump. And I'm not here to be like, oh, we should love them because they're hurt. I don't fucking care if they live or die or grow mushrooms in their ass crack. But the thing is that something has been broken along the line there where they were shown that this is what's important and this is what you should care about. And I'm enough of a nature versus nurture type of person to think that if Trump had been raised by, my parents or, something like that, he wouldn't be the man he is today. So I think that there is something that we have to look at in terms of what are we showing is important. And again, this goes back to like the co-ops and what I feel is important, like the work that I do is the building. Okay, it's not enough to just talk nice about like the worlds that we imagine. Where the rubber hits the road, what are we talking about? Show me in a community garden, show me in a mutual aid space, show me in a community space, a public library, show me actually like the world that you want to see and that you want to build. And I think that is where you start to throw a wrench into the gears of creating more psychopathic assholes that are trying to destroy the world.
Yeah. And I feel like I've done my part. I raised two very nice boys, right? Like I've contributed to taking a step towards creating people that are less affected. You know what I mean? Like because that's what it is to me. These people are just very affected. They're extremely shallow. And it's a combination of people. Sometimes it's people that I think have never properly been put in their place. And then it's also people that maybe were bullied a bit too much and now have a big chip on their shoulder. Like it's kind of like a combination of both of those
it's
things.
like a lot of cops have that, I was bullied, so now I'm going to be able to bully whoever comes across my path. And I've had this conversation with a friend of mine who's a doctor in Deir al-Balah, Gaza, and he says, my worry is that this will continue, is that Palestinians will want revenge. And then it's not going to be never again. It will be again, because those people who were victimized will want to victimize someone else. And you see that, I mean, there was a case, this was like back in the 80s, I think, of like a 13-year-old who tortured and murdered like a 7-year-old or like a 5-year-old. And he had been mercilessly bullied. And he just said, when I was torturing him, I didn't see him. I saw the faces of the people who bullied me. It can sound ridiculous, but that shit is real. And I think that like this is a lot of what we see happening. Like Nietzsche said, careful those who fight monsters lest ye become monsters yourselves.
Yeah, trauma begets trauma, for sure.
One of the things, and this is what I think is a good place to close, you have lived outside this country. We are a failing empire. The empire that's coming is China. And one of the things that I found very interesting has been brought to our attention is that the saber rattling with China has always been bad, but now it's getting even worse because evidently AIPAC, I thought that they were an American pro-Israel organization.
Yes, they're an American organization. They're
going to Taiwan now. Now they're messing with them. You want to talk about a line that you should not cross? China has made it so abundantly clear in the nicest way possible. Don't mess with Taiwan. Stay the hell out of this part of the world. You are not ever, you may control the Mediterranean Sea. You are not controlling the South China Sea. No matter how much you try, it's World War III. If you think we're bluffing, come and find out, because that's what's next. And so now I wonder, why is it that AIPAC is being allowed to work its way in to Taiwan? I think that this is ultimately going to end up becoming a much bigger nightmare than people realize right now. But I would hope that you could briefly explain to the audience what your experience was like living outside of this country and some of the benefits that you found in terms of just basic living that we don't have here in the States, does not exist. So if you could share some of that, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, there's the basic stuff like healthcare.
Yes.
What's that?
I know. And unfortunately, Sweden has its tongue so far up the ass of Uncle Sam that it's like following suit in a lot of ways and trying to privatize healthcare. It's privatized its trains and things like that. But I think that one of the best things, and I understand like this is a privilege, and I think that this is done on purpose to ensure that people inside the US don't ever get to see it from the outside. It's kind of like when you're in a shitty relationship and you take a step back and you're like, wow, that was bad. Most Americans don't have the privilege to do that, right? Because most Americans can barely fucking make rent. So the ability to go outside the nation and see it from the outside, where you realize that what you have in common with your government is far less than what you have in common with that working class person in Spain or in Cuba or in China, right? And what our governments have in common is quite similar as well. And so I think with this is also about empire coming back to its roots. With climate change, with the rise of far right-wing populism, you have the United States coming back to its core mission, which is genocide, slavery, ethnic cleansing, the destruction of people and planet. It's always been about what the US has been about. And of course, it's always been what Israel has been about, right? So I think what you see here is when the going gets tough, the tough in the empire go back to their safe space, which is destruction and genocide. And I think that this is just American hubris. Just like with Russia, what Russia was like, I told you, don't go into Ukraine. Just don't stop. And in fact, when NATO was first created, Russia was like, you can't go beyond this line. And then NATO was like, do. And so I think like they just keep doing the thing that these countries are like, but seriously don't. And yeah, it's going to come back and bite us in the ass. And it already is. I mean, look at the BRICS nations. They are raking in cash. And meanwhile, the G7 are like, we don't have a lot of funds at the moment. And the fact that you've got like places like my home country, Sweden, strapping itself to the falling empire, it's literally like seeing a lifeboat go past the Titanic and being like, no, I'm cool here. And that's literally what's happening. And at the same time, you've got China, it's like watching a drunk guy at the bar beat the shit out of himself. And China's like, oh, this is bad, but I can't really intervene. There's nothing I can do. So I'll just watch this happen. And I think that like, the importance of seeing things from the outside is also to see that, I think you brought it up earlier about like the media landscape. We are the most propagandized people on the planet. And the fact that we're being told to hate the Chinese and hate the Russians and hate the Venezuelans, for what? For why? And never to hate the people who are the actual architects of our oppression.
We brought up a really good point at the start of the Ukraine conflict. And as soon as I dug into it and I discovered that there is about at least 8 trillion with a T worth of natural resources in Western Ukraine. And that was the impetus to get them into NATO, which Russia said, you're not doing that. And if we have to invade Ukraine and basically take over the Donbass, and that's the way it's going to be, because you are not dragging them in. Those resources do not belong to you. There was no other reason. It just became so painfully obvious that this is about money and power. And that is exactly what's happening here with Taiwan. Everything is about money and power. That's all that empire cares about. Religion is used as a weapon because it convinces scared people who are afraid of their own mortality that this is what you have to do for your own salvation. Even if a genocide is happening right in front of your face, who gives a shit about that? This is what they've been led to believe, and this is what they are believing. So when the Taiwan president says to AIPAC, again, what the hell is AIPAC doing in Taiwan would be my question that doesn't seem to have an answer right now, that Israel is a model for defense. Really? Why would you say such a thing? Who's paying you off?
Well, that's the question, right? Like we're just AIPAC. we cannot poke at China enough.
Yeah.
We just can't. We cannot stop. We cannot poke at them enough. We will not be happy until they are like up our ass.
No, our hubris knows no bounds. And so Lai Ching-te says Taiwanese often look at the example of the Jewish people when facing challenges from China. Well, there you go right off the bat. They're also going down this road once again of equating Jews with Israelis and the state of Israel, and there can be no separation. But as I've often pointed out, as we often point out on our channel as often as we can with our wide-reaching audience that we are blessed to have now, is to basically be very clear about this. If you continue to equate Jews with Zionists, Zionists win. That's who wins. That's who wants that message out there. If you do not separate the two, then you are going to see even worse destruction economically, socially, environmentally, you name it. It will only get worse. And that, I think, is what's really lost on a lot of people, is this idea that what we are doing, what we are effectively doing in order to keep up with this genocidal state that just won't go away, I believe more than anything else, it is imperative that we use our platforms to continue to push the appropriate narrative, which is Zionists and anti-Zionists is a thing. And don't try to tell anybody otherwise. And don't equate. I wasn't done with that, Jen.
Okay. We need to wrap. That's why I was like, yeah. Okay.
Okay. I didn't. Do we need to wrap? Do you need to
well, Eleanor's been here for an hour. It's, she has things to do and places to go and people to parent.
y'all don't need to wrap, but I will make my exit.
Right.
But
No,
y'all don't have to wrap.
No, of course not. But I want it. Yeah, it's time though. It's time. He needs to be reined in sometimes.
Well, yes, your thoughts, and then we will continue the story once you depart. And we really do appreciate you coming on the show.
Yes.
Especially.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I think I agree. And I think that as a very proud Jewish person and a very proud anti-Zionist, I think that it's very important that we continue to decouple those. And folks can check out my work at artkillingapathy.com. And thanks y'all so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. It's always good to see you.
Thank you for all you do, and say hi to Lee for us, please.
Will do. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
So, as we
got to read the room. Got to read the room.
I wasn't reading the room.
I know, and you need to.
Okay. Do you have to be so mean to me?
Not mean. I'm just saying
Yes,
you got to
you
read the
are.
room.
Yes, you are. You don't see it, and I'm telling you.
God, people, am I being mean? I have to.
Don't ask. You of all people, don't ask the chat because you may get answers you don't want.
I know. Everyone finds me insufferable. I know.
Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te cited the biblical story of David and Goliath, of all stories, said at a dinner hosted by the U.S. pro-Israel lobby AIPAC that Israel is a model for Taiwan to learn from its strengthening its defenses. That guy's going to get himself killed if he's not careful. Taiwan has been a strong backer of Israel since October 7th, Hamas-led attack that triggered the war in Gaza. But Israel, like most countries, has no formal diplomatic relations with Taipei amid its longstanding tensions with China, which claims the democratically governed island as its own territory. Attending the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee dinner Monday night, the U.S. group's first delegation to the island, Lai said that Jewish people have suffered constant persecution over their history. The Taiwanese people often look to the example of the Jewish people when facing challenges to our international standing and threats to our sovereignty from China. The people of Taiwan have never become discouraged. Appeasement has never been the way to stop authoritarian governments. The concept of peace through strength is a maxim that the Israeli, U.S., and Taiwanese societies have abided for years. Now, keep in mind, this is the Times of Israel who wrote this.
Can I comment on peace through strength? That is one of the dumbest fucking phrases I've heard. There's no such thing as peace through strength. Peace can only happen with justice. Strength has nothing to do with peace. Those things are, that's like, mixing letters and numbers. That doesn't matter. I just hate that phrase, peace through strength. What is that? That means what it means is submission of others through strength, where you feel like you have peace because the other people that you're oppressing are quiet.
I'm not touching you. Israel's determination and capacity to defend its territory provides a valuable model for Taiwan. Man, they're just asking for themselves to get destroyed. I have always believed that Taiwan needs to channel the spirit of David against Goliath and standing to authoritarian coercion. According to Lai's remarks, the AIPAC delegation, again, what the fuck is AIPAC doing in Taiwan, numbered some 200 visitors and included leaders from politics, business, and the other sectors of the U.S. As deepen strategic partnerships, invest in advanced tech, and enhance our defense capabilities, we look forward to closer Taiwan, U.S., Israel cooperation on security, trade, and beyond, promoting peace across the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan has a de facto embassy in Tel Aviv. Shock. While Israel has a similar representative office in Taipei, there is no similar arrangement between Taiwan and the Palestinians, whom China
call it
has.
Taipei?
Yeah.
Taipei?
Or Taipei? Is it Taipei?
It is most definitely Taipei.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
I just didn't know if you were referring to Taipei or if you saw somewhere that something said Taipei.
No, I thought that that's how it was pronounced. My
Taipei.
apologies.
No, Taipei.
Thank you. There is no similar arrangement between Taiwan and the Palestinians, with whom China has a close relationship. China recognized a Palestinian state in 1988. I would say that that's the most important piece of information. Hey, Lou. How's she doing?
She's having the best day ever. She was frolicking and running like it's ridiculous. She runs and frolics and smiles and is so happy. But then I told her I'm not going to listen to her complaining about her slip discs tomorrow. Because I know and she keeps trying to jump up shit. She shouldn't be doing, you're way too old to be jumping on shit.
Now everybody gets a close-up. Hi, Lou. No, they can't. They didn't even see her. You got to pick her up for a minute. And she's an old lady.
She's 15. She's 15. She's the best. She's not really, though. She's not the nicest dog. She really isn't. Like she's nice to me, but she really isn't the friendliest of dogs. That's the thing. I wish she were. You're not the nicest.
I think Taiwan is making a very calculated mistake in the worst possible way. I don't know how you can look at what's going on in Israel right now and think that this is a good move. But remember, the key statement from that very biased Times of Israel article is that China has recognized the state of Palestine since 1988. What happened around 1988, Jen?
I graduated from high school.
You know, this is really frustrating because I'm trying to do a segment with you and you're not paying any attention to what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, but you're the one who was getting me distracted with Lou. You're like, hold her up, hold her up.
I didn't ask you to bring Lou into the shot. You decided
She
to
jumped
do that.
up on me. She was needy. All right, what happened in 88?
Well, I think it was 87, actually. The Intifada?
Well, okay, so the fall of 87, right? So if you had said that, I would have said that the fall of 87 was the first Intifada. Because I was in Israel the summer of 87. And I know that it happened like very shortly thereafter. And that was when, after the first Intifada, that Israel started all of the most visible signs of apartheid. That's when they started creating the wall and the separate highways, expanding settlements and more violent settlements. Like a lot of that really started like on steroids after the first Intifada.
And I do think that at the time, that is also probably what pushed China to recognize Palestine as a state, because that also created even greater separation. I would say that 1987 was really a point of that. And whoever is JG, calm down. Seriously, some of you guys in the chat, enough already. I do think that definitely played a role in why things ultimately ended up getting as bad as it did, and why they decided that they were going to recognize them as a state. Now, Do I think that, why do you think Taiwan is caught up in the middle of this right now?
Because because everybody feels the need to be on a team.
No, China does not support Israel. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
China supports Palestine.
Which is why the Zios are going to seize an opportunity to go get attention and sympathy and support from Taiwan. And also, again, it's just one more way for us to needle at China. It's sort of killing two birds with one stone. But at the end of the day, they see that China is coming down on the side of Palestine, and they see Taiwan as an opportunity to sort of have some sort of counterbalance to that. But it isn't, because Taiwan is China, and there's one China. And us pushing that is just, it's not going to end well for us. It's not going to end well for us. So.
Okay. So Chanel keeps insisting that China recognizes Israel and it's its biggest trading partner. Okay. You're going to have to show me something, because that's new.
China is everybody's biggest trading partner.
Well, that's also true.
I mean, that's the truth. And are they very well playing both sides? Possibly. But they're not on board with what they're doing there any more than, every other country that's not doing anything. With the exception of Yemen, no one's really doing anything. They're all in violation of the Genocide Convention. Well, except us, because we're not party to the Genocide Convention. But so no, I don't know. But us, or AIPAC, going into Taiwan as if it is a separate entity from China is just provoking. That's all it is it's provoking, which is what we do. That's what we do. I'm telling you, we are not going to be happy until somebody drops a bomb on us.
No, I definitely agree. And I think that we could get a little bit more information from our good friend, Raleigh Rashid. Colin, I just sent you the clip if you can pull it up. It's a quick explanation of what's going on. I would definitely say that, again, we're not here to advocate for China. Let's be very clear about that.
No, I'm not advocating for China. I'm advocating for us minding our own business and not interfering. It would be like us poking around with Taiwan would be like if China decided that they're going to start palling around with Puerto Rico and working on all sorts of agreements and doing all sorts of stuff with Puerto Rico and being in their water and like supporting their stuff and telling us, don't worry, this is between us and them, as if they're separate from us. So how would people react if China was forming agreements and arrangements and getting involved in our relationship with Puerto Rico? It's absurd to even think about that. But yet we're sitting there with Taiwan like it's an independent entity from China. It is not. So, there's one China.
Different opinions. Colin, are you there? Okay, just making sure. All right, so yeah, there is Wally Rashid has been a guest on our show. He does really great work covering the Israel-Palestine nightmare. But I would say probably more than anything else, the important thing to remember about this story is, why is AIPAC in Taiwan?
Why is AIPAC in Taiwan?
That, as much as anything, should deeply concern people, which is, as I've said, we need to get the hell away from them as fast as humanly possible. We don't move fast enough when it comes to this. We are moving now. We're seeing it. We're seeing how all the Zio scum at the Republican Jewish coalition event are freaking out about what's happening, but it's not changing fast enough. And that's why when things like this happen, it is of deep concern.
AIPAC is now leeching itself onto Taiwan and brought its first delegation there. Take a listen to this.
I extend a warm welcome to the first ever delegation to Taiwan from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. AIPAC is a prominent nonprofit dedicated to advancing U.S.-Israel relations. It is a highly prestigious and influential organization in the United States.
President of Taiwan also posted this on X. A warm welcome to AIPAC's first delegation to Taiwan. As we deepen strategic partnerships, invest in advanced tech, and enhance our defense capabilities, we look forward to closer Taiwan-U.S.-Israel cooperation on security, trade, and beyond, promoting peace across the Taiwan Strait. Earlier this year, Israeli National News already wrote an article titled, "As the West Dies, Israel's Future Lies with Rising Asia." Israel shares increasingly fewer values with the leftist West, which in its bid to destroy itself has abandoned its history, culture, uniqueness, and belief in itself.
Israel is going to die, period.
Oh, yeah.
So this seems like a pretty desperate move, but why the fuck are we involved in it? Why isn't Israel just sending its own people? Why do we have AIPAC? This is the whole thing about...
Because they are Israel's people. That is the case in point. They are Israel's people. If they were... I think this kind of sort of proves it, no?
I would agree, but David doesn't. Again, here's the thing about Israel expanding. They are expanding, but they're never going to be able to sustain themselves without us doing it for them. That's the point.
They're finished, David. It's a short-term, long-term. Yes, they are working right now to expand. They are working on their Greater Israel project. They've got troops. They're in Lebanon. They're in Syria. They're all over the place trying to do that. They are running out of steam. Their economy is in the toilet. And as soon as the US dollar is no longer the world currency, and it is coming, people, it is coming, and we are not the world's hegemon. When that happens, Israel will cease to be able to exist. Israel can only exist at our pleasure. And our pleasure will cease to have any power or control when we no longer run the world's currency. So it's all coming to an end. They could sit there and expand between now and that happening, but they're losing the whole thing. So it's short-term versus long-term.
If you want any hope for the future of the United States, it will involve not having Israel as our greatest ally.
77-year history of Israel's diplomatic alliances with the West appears to be ending, and increasingly we see that we have disturbingly little in common with the dying West. So with what countries can Israel make sincere, substantial, and long-lasting alliances? Simply put, the countries that need Israel and we need them are South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, and critically India. The West, and particularly America, will try to prevent Israel from creating military alliances in Asia, since such alliances would mean lessening of US influence over Israel. As for Europe, they will also try to stop alliances between Israel and Asia, simply because Europe's genetic response is to prevent anything that is good for Israel and the Jews. We've seen since October 7th how fickle and dishonest was the support received from our American allies, and we have seen the response to October 7th by Europeans who denounced Israel as quickly as possible after the start of the war. This is absolutely crazy, but it's pretty obvious where Israel is headed next.
For a spectacular failure of an ending.
Yeah. And when we cease to exist and Israel no longer has our support, it will go away. It cannot exist on its own. It's like a cancerous tumor. You know what I mean? It can only exist attached. But when that does happen, all their linking to Taiwan isn't going to save them. It's not going to save them because China's not going to save them. Nobody's going to save them. Just because people trade with them because they exist right now doesn't mean any of those countries are going to put their necks on the line or try to save them. It just means that they deal with them right now.
For now, but hopefully not for much longer. If you're enjoying this banter, because this has been a bantering of an evening, to say the least, but we hope you've enjoyed it, please consider, if you would, going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. We passed 83,000 subscribers earlier today. It seems that every time we go live, we clip up another 1,000. I don't know if we're going to get to 100,000 by New Year's, but we're going to try our damnedest. And if you are so inclined, we do appreciate any and all support. You can also deliver a super chat, which, Jen, we are in overdrive in super chats this evening.
I know, it's amazing. I saw some come through. Crazy.
Jim Talib kicking us off with the $5 super sticker as always. Thank you very, very much for your support. Our trusty mod with the 2 Canadian A. Effin' with Jen is effin' with all of us. F around and find out. we concur. You know, you've been pretty crappy to me tonight, even though I made that nice statement at the beginning.
When I say read the room, you have to kind of know with a guest. So you've got a guest who's got a young kid who's giving us an hour of her time, and you've got to pay attention to that. That's all I meant when I said read the room. Is you got to just. That's all I'm saying. And I
didn't see her giving any type of body language.
I know. But when you have a young mom that has a 3-year-old and it's an hour of her time at night, it's time. You could have been
more polite about it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You could have been. You could have been. You could have been a little more polite about it. That's all. And I would have been, hey, Eleanor, you got to go.
Thank you, ancient crustacean. See, we have both sides. There's people who think I wasn't crappy at all, but blunt. There's people who think I owe you a big apology.
You don't owe me a big
Peter
apology.
has big feelings about this.
I did. No, I don't. I didn't say anything. All I said was, could you just acknowledge that? I didn't even ask for an apology. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got mad at you because I didn't know what the hell you were referring to, and then I realized, oh, it's about China. JG's one of our favorites, so I always have to acknowledge our people. Pat, our favorite Scotsman with the 5 pounds. There's a film now showing called Palestine 36. I'm going to see it Wednesday night here in Scotland.
Yeah, see, Marvin gets it. It's all about it. Okay?
I honestly was reading a story. I didn't see anything.
I know.
Why are you being so crappy to me?
I'm not being crappy. I'm not being crappy. And I do. Eleanor's a big girl, and she was about to say, I got to go. And I was just heading it off. I do. I understand.
Mark J with the $3. Thank you, Peter and Jen. You're awesome. So are you, Mark. So are you. You always support our channel. We really appreciate it. Over the top with the $5. Let's be real. This is not much more than mainstream Democratic Party politics from the 1980s. I believe you're referring to Zohran. I mean, look, at this point, the bar is so low. Who the hell knows what to expect at this point? So anything positive is going to come off looking pretty good. Piano Man with the $10 super sticker. Thank you very, very much, as always, for your support. Rome Chin Chiller with the $50 contribution.
Chinchilla or chin? I like that it's chinchilla and not chinchilla.
Well, I think that's the play on words there. But Chrome Chin Chiller with the $50 contribution. Sorry, folks, just joined. Took me 2 hours to submit application using Grok AI prompt to fix my resume so it can pass ATS score because current job market is extremely tough since government aren't funding to build the economy what used to be prior to the 1980s. What I can tell you, Chrome, is that I personally am dealing with such a crisis. I have a commercial real estate deal that I am personally invested in that cannot close and may not close at all, may lose the entire deal because of the government shutdown, because SBA loans are not funded right now during the shutdown. And Lord knows how much longer they're going to plan to drag this thing out. So austerity politics is the order of the day. That's how we do business in this country. And so many people have to suffer as a result. That's the downside as much as anything to capitalism. We don't need to do it this way, but they choose to do it this way because it is what in their mind keeps the system going, is making people live in fear, to not even think about trying to form a revolution. But I think you and I would agree that it's inevitable that it's going to happen.
Oh, it's happening.
JG with the $5. I'm sick that Trump changed Indigenous Day back to Columbus Day. Well, listen, the Italians are the most persecuted people in society, aside from the Jews. So believe me when I tell you, we're totally switching it back. Why would
Italians? You've got way better people. Like, I do not understand any Italian that cares about Christopher Columbus. You guys, like, your legacy is so much better. Like, I don't get it.
JG again with the $5. Fuentes believes in infiltration. Isn't that what Zohran is doing? Well, he's trying to, but again, what is the Democratic Party going to do to try to prevent him from succeeding? I believe that they are going to work even harder than the Republicans will, but that's my opinion. We'll see what happens. And one more time with the $5 from JG, you can't just assassinate Tucker and Nick right after Charlie. Too obvious. So you assassinate character. It's Israel. You think Israel gives a shit? If they think that they have to take out Tucker and Nick, or one or the other, I wouldn't put that past them. I mean, I think Candace Owens walks around with a security detail everywhere she goes now. She don't take any chances. Why would she? Brett, thank you for being a member for 6 months. Appreciate the convo and hit those likes, everyone. We hope you will hit those like buttons. Much appreciated. JG with the $2 one more time. Take a bit of CRT. What's CRT again?
Critical race theory. Talk a bit of CRT.
Talk a bit of CRT. Well, we're actually going to.
That's what they're talking about. Critical race theory. Critical race theory is a term that's used to disparage actual history and to create a false sense of that somehow we're being manipulated by race theorists as to the mistreatment of Black people. And so I never understood. I mean, I know what critical race theory is from a standpoint of you're like getting a PhD. There's probably courses on critical race theory that are way beyond what most people think about when they think about critical race theory. What most people think about is us being taught proper history and being taught to be critical of racist and white supremacist systems that have been put in place since the founding of this country.
Chrome Chin Chiller, because for some reason he really likes our channel. I don't know why you like us that much, but we can't thank you enough for your incredible generosity. RPC are literal bunch of POS, are poop flowing from mouth. Horrible creatures like them are actual shills for apartheid state. Stand in front of the podium in USA, but daydreaming they are in Israel. You know how they will snap out of it. Interview folks like Nurit Peled Elahan. Rachel, can you please write that down? Nurit Peled Elahan. Elahanan.
I wonder if it's any connection to Miko.
Maybe. Possible. I believe that those people are traitors to this country. Pure and simple. Lindsey Graham, Randy Fine, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, heck, John Hagee, Ted Cruz,
Brian Mast,
Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Brian Mast wears IOF uniform into Capitol. So disgusting.
All in the name of their career, mind you. Not because they believe in anything, but because their career comes first. That's why Lindsey Graham strolls up to that podium drunk off his ass. It's like, all right, so what do I have to say now to appease my... She's Miko's elder sister. Okay, great. Cool. So, yeah, let's, if we could get her on the show, we could just message me. We could message Miko and just ask him, would Nurit be available?
No, you ask, you find her contact information.
If I can't find it is what I'm saying.
Okay.
JG with the $5. Everyone is domino theory. Same BS excuse. Hate Zohran because domino theory. I think people have a right to be concerned and cautious about what may come. I think that that's fair. Now, does that mean
not because he's some sort of communist domino? That's what they're saying. Like, you have to hate him because, the socialism and the communism will spread, which of course is absurd because none of his policies are neither communist nor socialist. So, again, we're just so stupid in terms of our education system that people don't even know what those things mean. And people can capitalize on it so easily for fear-mongering purposes. We should only be so lucky if he were a socialist. See, we're not getting that.
Lou is so cute in the background.
Oh, you see her? Oh, she's on the bed. That's the bed. I sent you the picture of her on that bed.
Hey, that's a bed that I would sleep on, and I would probably be very.
It came with this Airbnb. It was nice because I have her little one, but she's been on that big one, although she puked on it before, which I wasn't happy about. She got into something outside. She's been running free. Dog was running free before. Wind in the fur, hair flying.
Chrome Chin Chiller with the $5 this time. I wonder what people in Harrison County and Arkansas are now thinking about their elected Congress or Trump. Been manipulated just like to all of us. Well, I don't know if you're from Harris County, Arkansas, but I got to get out there one of these days and get to my library. Check that out. It's probably pretty cool. Oh, awesome. Well, sure. Always welcome recommendations for guests to the channel. Saeed M with 50 Revolutionary Change membership gifts.
Saeed, put the baby's name in the chat. I can't just keep referring to that face as the punum. That's what my bubby would say, though. That is what my bubby would say. She'd go, the punum on you.
JG with the $5. Ronald McDonald is more guilty than Bill. I'm not sure if you're referring to Bill Gates or Bill Clinton, but Ronald McDonald is guilty because McDonald's, yes, Walmart, Amazon, and I would probably put McDonald's third. There's a lot of companies you could point to that have destroyed America, but that's definitely a bad one.
That's Mohi.
Mohi.
That's Mohi. Oh my God, that face. Yeah, he's delicious.
Libertarian Social Democrat with the 199. Peter is a social democrat equals mixed economy Norway. Yeah, I would say that that's probably a fair assessment. JG with the $2 to this chat doing part. Yes, they are, and you are too nice. JG with the $2 again. Hurt people, hurt people.
Absolutely.
They do. Hurt people should, instead of fixing themselves, bring their pain to somebody else.
And yet I don't think the Palestinians think in the way to reciprocate. I think that there would be some of that. I think that's inherent in trauma.
Chrome Chin Chiller with the $2. Was it 87 or 67? Just double reassuring info.
Okay, so 87 was the first Intifada. 67 was the war where Israel expanded and took the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and Gaza. In violation of international law beyond their recognized 1948 boundaries. And they have tapered off in a sense of they gave Sinai back. They just retook Golan Heights. So that was what happened in 67. But 87 was when the Palestinians started their revolt in the way of the first Intifada.
JG with the $5. China is restricted rare earth minerals to genocide. I don't 100% follow what the statement means. China is restricted rare earth minerals. Do you understand what he means?
Well, are they restricting the export of that? Have they decided that they're not going to be sending those to Israel anymore because of the genocide?
Well, I would hope so.
Well, but yet a lot of countries say that they support the idea of a Palestinian state, but yet they're still having, very frequent trade and financial economic relations with Israel.
Well, we saw what Turkey just did with the steel industry, how they bankrupted Israel's steel industry. So,
but yet they support them many other ways.
Sure.
So it's like this both sides of the mouth thing.
I think it still has a lot to do with the fact that the dollar is still the world's currency. And for now. JG 1982 with the $2. 1 China, F Taiwan. I would just say F AIPAC and F the U.S. hegemony, because that's the real problem here. And in the end, leave China be. You should have always left China be. And now you're going to find out in the worst way, because now they're economically armed. Brian Burns, thank you for the $2. And those are I'm not sure what national champions they are. I can't make that out. LSU, I think that's LSU. Dreadful end of the World Series for the Blue Jays. Talk about blowing an all-timer.
Goofy Goob, I just want to respond, guessing China doesn't care about the genocide. Probably not. But they're a lot more practical.
People don't care.
Right. They're a lot more practical and care about things like economics, their future, what that means for them. And they just realize a genocide isn't good business. So you're right. They might not personally care about what's going on, but I just don't think that that's their vibe.
Sailor Jerry Swallow with the 2 Canadian A, you guys should get married. No, we shouldn't, but we kind of are. We're politically married. Trust me, there are times I love Jen, there are times I hate her. And at the end of the day, I'm like, well, we're kind of stuck with each other. So
no, we're stuck now.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I've accepted my lot in life with this man, because at the end of the day, we kind of can only exist because we're somewhat interdependent.
Yeah. Well, thankfully we don't have to actually be in each other's presence that much. So
right. We don't live near each other anymore. So
yeah, that's the saving grace. Alex got mittens with the $2. You got me with the Clinton draw. Well, I'm certainly appreciative of any contributions. And Willie works for cheap. My standards are not very high. Brian Burns with the $2 again. Did you reach Aaron Baker? We have reached him. Our producer is assisting and emailing to schedule him to come on the show. So we're working on it. JG with the $2. Ronald Reagan, more guilty of destroying unions. Well, I only destroyed the airline union, and that was certainly good enough to take down all of the unions, and they didn't have the courage to stand up to me back in the summer of 1981. And that is exactly when it ended. We said that to effing Fred Frost and to anybody who's ever been a union leader like Andy Mattis. When he fired the air traffic controllers and the unions did not shut down business across the country to stop what he was doing, that was the end of labor power in the United States. That's a fact. And finally, Chrome Chinchiller one more time with the $10 super chat. Nurit Peled Elhanan, likely Peled typo, is an Israeli professor and activist exposing racist anti-Palestinian bias in school textbooks. Sakharov Prize winner. Will be impossible to get a hold of her.
That might be. And it makes sense because, we did have Miko on. And when Miko came on, one of the key things that I got from him that I learned was how he was raised in the school system growing up in Israel and what that was like and how they were so taught wrong history. I mean, we were here, but they were actually taught it at the sites that they were taught about. So it's, in other words, we'll destroy a Palestinian village, we'll rename it something else, and we'll tell you it has something to do with Jewish history. And they were on ruins of people's homes from just, 20, 40 years before. So, yeah, I find, and somebody said something about inviting Professor Khalidi, and I'd love to. I think at one point I had reached out. I loved his book. If people who don't know, Rashid Khalidi's book is The 100 Years War on Palestine. And it is quite good. It's one of the primer books that people need to read, like Elon Pappy's book. But yeah.
Chrome, I don't know if you're trying to empty out your ATM, but whatever you're doing, we love you very much. Thank you so much. With the $20, Taiwan government might be making plan to build a T-dome for themselves with AIPAC fund and Israel involvement. Harrison County, according to Google, is the most racist town in the USA, very heavily Republican. No survivor chance for me. Hang in there, brother. Hang in there. You'll be fine. You got our channel and our wonderful chat to support you. Do I think that Taiwan wants an Iron Dome? They might. It's possible. Why they want to involve themselves with AIPAC or with us, for that matter, not very smart. And it will be the heart of a World War III-like cataclysm if anything were to come to pass. Harrison County, Arkansas, probably a very poor part of the United States. Not a lot of economic opportunities, so naturally a lot of resentment at the world as a result. We are not going to have time to do a segment tonight that Jen really wanted to do. We will move it to Thursday. It'll actually be very good to talk about on Thursday because on Thursday, we are going to be joined by our other revolutionary cohort over at Revolutionary Blackout Network, Nick Cruz. We may also have Jay Buffon as well. We'll see if we'll get both of them on Thursday, but Nick Cruz will be with us. It has been a long time coming of a necessary collaboration and a burying of a hatchet of sorts from a number of years ago. I do want to close this evening with an interesting clip that I discovered. That is from, I'm going to take you guys back in time to 1967, to a time when Woody Allen had his own little TV show on, I believe it was NBC. And he had a guest on his channel who was probably the most prominent conservative thought leader, I guess, at the time, and that is William F. Buckley. And somebody
for today's, so we're going to call it a slow burn. Is that what it is today?
This is a slow burn.
Yep, because it's the history of the revolution brewing.
So what happened in 1967, Jen, with the fakes state of Israel? What happened in 1967?
Well, that was when they violated international borders, provoked a war with the neighboring nations, claimed that they were attacked, used it as an opportunity like they did with October 7th to then further expand, their first illegal expansion, which was again into the Sinai Peninsula to the south, the Golan Heights to the north, West Bank, and Gaza. right? That was the 67 expansion.
And 1967 is also the year of the USS Liberty attack.
Right. I know you asked me like as if I was there. You know, I'm not that old. Yeah.
You are that old. You just look good for your age.
I am not that old. I was not alive then.
I'm just kidding. 1967, Woody Allen and William F. Buckley.
I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Allen, if I may. Mr. Allen, do you think that the Israelis should give back the land that they won from the Arabs?
Well, right off the bat, it's won from the Arabs. So it's not even the Palestinians, it's the Arabs, which, of course, as you've often pointed out, is used for a derogatory purpose. And then it becomes won, not stolen. So immediately the framing, and that's not to say that this lady is trying to frame it from a biased perspective. She's just taking whatever information, especially in those days, was probably afforded to her.
That was the news. That was the news. It was Israel's war. They were attacked by the neighboring Arab nations. And there is an element of truth to that. But again, it didn't start that day. So there was a lot of provocation that led up to it. And it was essentially false flags because they wanted that to happen, because they wanted to use it as an excuse to expand. And the fact that, and a lot of at that time, a lot of those nations, and still are, filled with displaced Palestinians. Now, that wasn't necessarily the case for Egypt, but I mean, this was something that the country, they're tired of this.
Israelis give back the land they won? No, I don't think so. I think that they should sell it back.
Classic.
Now, of course, he does this for laughs, but we all know that Woody Allen, who is, to be fair, a talented filmmaker for sure, but he's also somebody with a very checkered past, and that's putting it very nicely.
That's a nice way of saying pederast, but okay.
Well, what's interesting is that if you've ever listened to his stand-up routine, in fact, he did a very noted stand-up routine on the Steve Allen show just a week before Kennedy's assassination. He actually makes reference to not pedophilia, but child molestation kind of thing. Just casually, referred to her as a child. And that just never really got acknowledged at the time. But what I find the most interesting is that Woody Allen, who is almost 90 years old, and he's not doing too well because he did an interview recently. And you know who he sat down for an interview with, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, Barry Weiss in the Free Press. Ain't that nice?
So when they say being, the revolution has been brewing for a long time.
Absolutely. So Woody Allen makes light of the fact that the Palestinians have been genocided in one form or another since 1967, and he thinks it's just good to make a quip about it. Now, do I think he was doing it to be humorous and that he has a very violent bone in his body for the Palestinian people? Who knows? But it got the reaction he was looking for. With that said, there is more.
Do you have a view of the Arab-Israeli situation, the entire Middle East situation?
Well, nothing too novel. I think eventually the Arab countries will get around to recognizing that Israel is going to be around for a while, and that when that happens, salubrious juices will...
From the Latin, salubrious, isn't it? Nothing, yes.
Will happen.
And you think that eventually, in time, the situation is going to work itself out?
Yeah, it'll get tranquilized in time, I suspect.
Tranquilized in time, I suspect. I wonder
this
what
is just, again, caucasity. Caucasity. And the comb over is horrible.
For who?
Well, I was thinking about Buckley, but I mean, Woody looks ridiculous too.
I mean, for the time, what is interesting that doesn't get brought up in this conversation is Woody Allen actually does ask Buckley about about Bobby Kennedy in '68, which I found interesting. Little did we know how that would change. He certainly saw him as a threat for sure. I really have to wonder what goes through certain people's minds when they soapbox opinion about international affairs that can be very violent and dangerous, that we have a direct hand in, and just kind of accept it. So Buckley's disposition is, it's unfortunate what's happening to the Palestinian people, and he doesn't refer to them as Palestinians, he refers to them as Arabs.
That was the nomenclature. I mean, it's inappropriate now, and we know better now. But that was, you know, I can't even fathom how they referred to Black people then. At this particular moment, it was probably colored.
What do you make of the word tranquilize?
I mean, it's very oppressive and supremacist. It's very colonial. It's just, yeah, it's oppressor speak.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, sometimes, curiously, wars do settle things. It's very unfashionable to suppose that they do. But the Israeli situation is an excellent example of where a war does situate Israeli claims in a more viable way. Mm-hmm. This was the third time around, this last contest. And Israel has accomplished something. So it is wrong, as I say, to suppose that wars never do accomplish anything. Sometimes, in fact, they do. It's a messy way to do it. But on the other hand, it is a way that it is a way that accomplishes certain things that some people want very much to accomplish. For instance, Israeli independence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Israel doesn't get independence because it's not a real place. It's a fiction. It would be like, let's say that Disney World applied for nation statehood, and the people of Disney, the people there, they need their self-determination. They need their independence from the state of Florida, because Disney, I mean, really, it is its whole own thing. And yeah, I mean, why not? That's how ridiculous that sounds to me now. Israel needs its independence from it. It's not even supposed to exist. Independent from what? It's not a real thing. It's a fiction.
Keep in mind, this interview was from the holiday season of 1967, right before the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, which was the most violent and bloody fight of the entire war. Doing this at the backdrop of the Vietnam War and making that type of commentary also goes to show you how flippant elites are. Liberal or conservative, it doesn't matter. The whole concept of war is, it's terrible, but we don't have to fight in it, so I don't give a shit.
And we don't get to see the body bags anymore. That's another part of the problem. Ever since W banned any sort of coverage of coffins being brought back. And that is one of the reasons that we ended up getting out of Vietnam, was the amount of people that were watching body bags and coffins draped with flags being brought back, and what that did to American people and got them in the streets. So they never want us to see that.
No, but that's also in many ways why the Tet Offensive was so big, because the Tet Offensive really was the first battle where they had, again, it's one of the most, was it a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph of the military aircraft carrier with the dozens of draped American flag coffins of the soldiers?
I don't know.
That's what it was. And so that's really, 1968 was really the year where protesting against the war really commenced. And so it was within a matter of weeks that this was going to happen. And now you're seeing this sort of flippant attitude, because Vietnam had been raging for over 2 years at this point. And you know, to have this attitude about the Palestinians at the time, it's kind of how they look at everything. That's how they look at everything. Everything is a means to an end. And Buckley, you know, he's I don't know what you would say he's the equivalent of today. Buckley actually did do a very good show. I actually do. I've enjoyed some of his previous commentary. James Baldwin, even when he interviewed Reagan, at least you get a pretty good insight as to how they think. But when it comes to,
I don't find his intellect worthy of a discussion with James Baldwin, but that's just me.
Sure. At the same time, it's a reflection of the imperialist mindset that so many people have. And Buckley was born in the States, and he went over to the UK to get that accent, and then he brought it back. Pseudo-intellectual, if you will. But that, in so many ways, after the USS Liberty incident, Mundo, but you have to remember the USS Liberty was an incident that the powers that be have tried to sweep under the rug for generations. That it didn't actually happen. And it wasn't Israel that attacked the US. It was Egypt. That's what they tried to do. Because they were trying to do, in the middle of the Vietnam War, Israel is trying to drag us into a Mediterranean war with Egypt, with Lebanon, and with Turkey. And for what purpose? Because the Greater Israel Project has always existed for the Zionists. This didn't just start from nowhere. They were trying to drag us in. They were trying to do their own version. Remember, 2 years prior to the USS Liberty attack, you had the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. That's all it is. What false flag? Oh, we'll just do another ship. We'll just blow up another ship. That's what we'll do, and we'll get them in there. But it didn't work because the Navy soldiers on the USS Liberty fought back. 70 U.S. soldiers were killed that day, and you get people who get up in arms about what happened in Benghazi, and that was 4 people that were killed. 70 American soldiers who were unprovoked in an attack. Today, it's still one of the greatest injustices in the history of our country. Now, we've tried to get Phil Turney on our channel. We're going to keep trying. We know he's an old man. We know he doesn't make many public appearances, but Lord knows we'd love to have him. And it is imperative that we keep speaking truth to power until Israel is no more. And not that we're trying to kill all Israelis. No, we are just trying to make Israel Palestine again, which is what it always was, what it's always should be. And the Zionists—
No, we're not trying to kill them. They just don't need to exist where they are. And the ones who, if you want to stay there nice and peacefully with other people, fine. But I just don't think they're capable.
I don't think they're capable of either, but It's not our problem anymore. Or it is our problem, but it's not going to be.
No.
We will see to it. Phil Turney did not pass away. I know that's what the rumor has been.
I don't think so. I don't think that's true. We couldn't find any confirmation on that.
Yeah, been looking for that. But hey, either way, we have one more super chat to get to before we leave. Noah Pinion. Well, you do have one if you're giving us one. Good play on words. I dig it. Thank you so much for the $10. Say we cut ties with Israel. Trump is gone, and we somehow have Tucker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Fuentes ahead the GOP. Will that benefit the USA with white nationalists running the country? Well,
no.
However,
No.
I would rather deal with a domestic fight in terms of the future of whether this country becomes more fascist or more socialist in whatever capacity that may be, than to have to worry about the end of the United States as we know it, because every empire always ends with military overexpansion. So if we can completely dismantle the military-industrial complex, reduce our military spending by at least half, then yeah, I would say that we would probably have enough to worry about taking care of things at home. And if we did take care of things at home, we wouldn't be so worried about whether or not Nick Fuentes is a prominent voice in American politics. In fact, the reason why Fuentes is a prominent voice in American politics is because this country is doing as bad as it is. And when a country does really bad, it seeks out strong men, dictator-like figures to lead them out. Because the people who should be leading are not leading. So I assume you would agree we're trying to do the best we can with our small but mighty channel.
Okay, so Luis Rivera, without Israel, who would be our eyes and ears in the Middle East? We don't need eyes and ears in West Asia. We don't. I mean, if we want to go there and talk to some folks and maybe see what their needs are, and maybe we could trade with them with what we need and with what they need, that should be our only interaction with West Asia. We don't need eyes and ears there. We need our eyes and ears here. Mind our business. That's what we need to do. We need to be minding our business.
On that note, we have passed the 3-hour mark, longer than we would want to have been going live. But with that said, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. You have been exceptionally generous with us tonight. Maybe it's because Jen and I banter back and forth. Whatever the reason is, we love you all. We appreciate you all. We will see you Thursday, and
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.